Okay.
I'm just getting the Zwift ride going.
Okay, starting to fill up, Everyone that's coming online, if you can just make sure that you are on silent.
The red shoes, they're in the Moss, Nigel Moss on for the early shifts.
Very well, thank you. How are you?
There he
Well, it
is.
makes you good someone up with you at the same time. Everyone else is well asleep.
You look more like a boxer. You've got the bag in the background, the hood up.
I know, I'm a session already.
Well, according to the Zwift ride, we are off. I'm sure everyone's just getting grips with the double screens. Have we got Mr. Wainwright on already?
I've not seen him. If guys, if you can, just remember to just keep your cameras and your microphones on mute. There is Mr. Wainwright.
How are we doing?
Good morning.
I'm sitting at 180 watts, drifting along in the pack here, very nice.
Everyone getting set up.
So Nashi, you've got quite an echo on your microphone. Have you got two accounts going or something?
Yeah, nope, just one. I'm getting it as well. It's maybe picking up on other people. There's a lot of people not on mute, guys. So if anyone's got two, it will just go right round the chat. Keith, I can see you're not on mute.
I wonder if it's because of Keith, because he's got the two mics open.
Maybe Keith, World in a Day 2's open, is not on mute. There it is, that's on mute now. That better? That any better, guys?
Sounds great to me anyway, Nash. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
You're okay. Can you?
Well, morning, everyone. 6:01. Thanks for joining the graveyard shift. Here we are again. For those who have done it before, it's I assume, because you're here from the very start, you're going for the mighty Q40.
I'm going to do some call outs. We've got Angela Littleton. Who else have we got? There's a Paul. It will pick up across the calls. But guys, what a fantastic turnout this early in the morning.
I'll tell you another time. All right.
Yeah, wait. Rob is on. Rob is here.
Before you go out.
Yeah, but I can see Nicole. I can see you talking away. If you could go on. Good morning, Nicole. How are you? If you could go on.
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well. Where are you coming in from?
I'm coming from Ormskirk in Lancashire.
Brilliant. Well, it's great to see you.
Thank you. Last year I did 9 miles, and then today I'm going to do 15.
Well done. That's
15 miles.
fantastic. Good on you. Good on you.
Thank you. Thanks for all the support.
No, well done. If I could make sure that your microphone's on mute.
Yeah.
Just as we get going. Give me some waves, guys, if you can hear me okay. There doesn't seem to be an echo on the call now. Good, guys. Thumbs up, everything. Good morning, Mel Nichols. There she is. How are you?
Thanks, Nashy.
Good, great to see you. Thanks for coming on board this early. It's fantastic. The numbers are excellent. Everyone is kicking off. Let me just have a look around, see who else is in. There's lots going on. There's lots going on. Sounds like someone's in a wind tunnel already.
The hell of a wind outside where I am now.
At the moment, but we hope there's someone there. Who's that? Greg Little. Looks like he's got a disco going on in the background. That's pretty good. Good effort. Great. Let's all go. We got Russell, we got everybody. I see lots of Doddy gear. Davy Jiv having his breakfast.
I was trying to figure out last night how many people were going for the mighty 240. And I think it's around about 80 riders. Now, I'm not making that up because it happens to be, you know, the 240 times 80 gets you around the planet. So there's 68 on right now. Either there's some pretty bold riders who are jumping on late and are going to smash the miles faster. About a couple of lots just just get the legs turning. The graveyard shift for me is always just thinking your way through the task and getting through dawn. And the thing that you always struggle with inside is keeping on top of your hydration. If you don't think about that in the first 4 hours, you suffer for it after lunch. So just hydrate on top of the feeling, because you hard. I mean, as Bob said, sitting about 180 watts. And, just let miles come to you. You don't need to go looking for endurance.
That is sound advice. And if I can just remind everybody, just to put I can hear a lot of feedback, a lot of echo, guys. Get on mute if you can, because it'll just sort of vibrate around everyone's ears. But I've just been informed that we are live to the world. We are on YouTube, Twitter, we are everywhere, Facebook, on the My Name is Doddy pages. Good morning, everybody. World in a Day has begun. I can see we've got 67 riders. We have got lots of familiar faces across the screens. You're all coming in from all around the world. It is fantastic to see you all. Mr. Mark Beaumont is on. Rob Wainwright is on. We'll get some more chat with them in a minute. And I can see, I can definitely see some familiar faces, guys. Well done for getting up this early. Well done for taking on this mammoth effort.
So we've just let another 5 in. We're over 70 riders now. That probably accounts for most of those who are going for the mighty 240.
Absolutely. I can see Mika. Mika's on already, Mark, if we remember Mika from last year. Give us a wave, Mika. Good morning. Hi, guys. How are you?
Yeah, we're good. There's 3 of us this year in this room, and there's just been a small bang and a very electric. I'll find out what it was in a bit, I'm sure.
Okay, well, take care. Good on you. I can see the 3 of you working hard there. We're in for a long old guests lined up. We've got lots of entertainment. By all means, if there's anything, you can message me on chat. There's lots of good luck messages coming in. There's lots of just fantastic energy, guys, as we knew there was going to be. Just an early shout out. We know what the plan is. We know we're all here for Doddy Aid. Charity, donating to doddyaid.com. If you are planning on, but we understand that across the month already everyone has been donating. So do what you can today, get the miles in, get everyone donating where possible. If you've got your own Just Giving pages, get them sent out, get them shared, get them across social media. And while you're on your bikes today, get the social media posts out, tag Doddy Aid, because behind the scenes, the whole department, the whole Doddy Aid Foundation, they're working away to make this as big as possible. So we're in for a great day. I can see some hard work going in already. And as Mark says, the graveyard shift is a tough old effort at this time in the morning, but your body will wake up and you'll start adapting. So keep going and get those miles in. What else have we got? Just to give you an idea of the run today, I'm going to get a catch up with Mark and Rob this morning. We've got Davy Jiv, Team Edinburgh captain. He'll be on as well this morning. Alan Murkiston will be joining us at 8 o'clock. He's a performance chef, Michelin starred. So he's going to give us some chat on fuel, how to sort of plan the day ahead, what you should be drinking, eating, but also it'll be interesting to just then 9 o'clock, Stuart Hogg, Scotland captain, bitter Six Nations chat, how the last year's been for him. 10 o'clock, we roll on. She was on last year. I'm hoping away as if they were just in the coffee shop and we all just sat and listened in. It was absolutely fantastic. 11 a.m, Jill Douglas is going to give us an update on the My Name is Doddy Foundation, everything that's happening in the foundation, how Doddy Gump's progressing, and then she'll be joined at 11:20 by Greg Laidlaw from Japan. So that's the morning shift, guys. There's a lot going on. The afternoon gets even busier with Sir Steve Redgrave, Sir Chris Hoy. There'll be more chat throughout the day, constantly with Mark Beaumont. Bit of rugby, 4:30 this afternoon. Jamie Rich, 6 and 7 p.m. We've got Dougie will be on later in the day. There is stacks of conversations to have. If you can remember throughout the day to stay on mute, do get in touch with me through chat if you want to have a conversation. If there's someone you'd really like to speak to, I'll try and make conversations and introductions happen when I can. But you can imagine it's a busy old day. There's going to be hundreds of people watching. There's going to be lots of cyclists dropping in and out throughout the day. And there's a couple of guests who, the way the world is, they will get on and have a chat when we can. So there'll be some surprise guests popping up now and again. So we've got it all planned, guys, but it's all about you. It's all about getting you guys through the miles. Mark will lead the way, and follow him because he's done it before. He knows how to get to the end of this. If you've got queries, questions, anything throughout the day, you can come to me on chat. We can communicate and we can get everyone through this. It's going to be epic. I can see Rob Wainwright's already tops off. So he means business. Rob, how are you? I've interviewed a stack of people this month, and every time I mention you, a lot of the time they talk about your fitness when you were a young athlete, and that you're pretty much still the same guy, same mentality today. How are you attacking today?
Well, I'm just having done it last year, learned that steady is good. I don't want to talk too much about Zwift. I'm in the front fast. But the good thing is I'm getting sucked along, getting the miles in. As we get older, you'll see this wee thing I'm holding here. That's a heart rate. It's an AV detector. So my latest challenge is the old ticker, getting a bit excited now and then. So that's handy in case needed, but still get a huge amount of joy from sweating on the bike, and very much looking forward to today. And in you, because you have got the biggest stint on microphone for 14 hours or however.
Last year, and put it this way, I've actually got water beside me. We talked about, yeah, there'll be times, maybe an hour or 2 hours, there'll be a space, everyone will want to get their head down, there'll be time to go to the toilet, there'll be time to do bits and pieces, and you know, as you're in it, you realize I'm not going anywhere here. This is one of the best things I've ever been involved in. This is just energy. It's all day. You didn't want to leave your seat, so I've got some supplies. I'm a bit more organized this year. I kind of last year was really reacting to how the day unfolded, and I'm sure everyone was the same. So if this is your first World in a Day, yeah, it's full on. It's non-stop. It's constant. We're chatting away the whole entire time. And as the guests do start to join us, there's some funny conversations that will just appear, and you'll start listening to someone that you know really well, or someone that you find really interesting that you didn't even know was going to be on the call. So we're looking forward to these conversations. We're looking forward to these experiences throughout the day. I think that there I can see maybe it's Noah Wilson. I think Noah was on last year. We had a good chat with Noah, another year down the line. Mark, you describe yourself as a diesel engine, and you know about endurance, obviously, and you've done this on the streets and been around the world. How's the last year been for you, obviously, and then in the build-up to this, you've done so much already with World in a Day through the month of January, but the build-up to this personally, World in a Day, knowing how it brings people together, what does that mean to you?
I mean, I think this is the 6th time that we've run World in a Day. We started it in the first lockdown 2 years ago, and there'll be some veterans from World in a Day then that, you know, did it each Thursday with me, and it was just a ridiculous routine where, you know, once a week you have to psych yourself up for a 240 miler on the turbo. But that was in that time when we were all craving just the community and the camaraderie of doing something difficult. We were all being told to sit at home and watch the telly. And I think there was something really powerful about getting on our bikes and feeling like we were shifting the dial and making a difference. And then, of course, the year before, Rob Wainwright and I and a merry band of pedlars had carried the match ball from Murrayfield to Twickenham, and that was a 500-mile ride in the middle of February. So it was sort of fairly straightforward to put the two events together and say, how can we do something really interesting, really difficult, but get as many people involved as possible? Not everyone can jump on their bikes and cycle to London or Cardiff, but doing something like this, wherever you are, you know, across Scotland, across the UK, across the world, you can get involved. So building a community. And we talked initially about doing it on Zwift or lots of other platforms, but actually having the virtual peloton on Zoom is as close as you can get to actually riding along beside each other, sharing conversations. And as you found out last year, people turn up thinking, right, I've got my box set ready, I've got my playlist ready, I'll have to entertain myself, how am I going to get through this? But the event, if you like, is everything that happens on your screen, and hopefully the legs will just keep turning over and the miles will take care of themselves. So it's been quite an organic event, growing over the years, and I was just blown away by the response this year. It's been absolutely fantastic. Well over 300 people registered to take part, and I've been looking forward to it with some trepidation. I mean, yes, I've ridden a 240 miler over 100 times in my life, but I'm not sure they get much easier. You know, there's no easy 240. Okay, psychologically, consistent effort. And doing something like this in January, you know, is a pretty sharp test for anyone, because, you know, no doubt people have had a slightly quieter, you know, period over November, December on the bikes. It's quite normal to build up during the year, get to the summer and have a big challenge, but to tap out a 240 at the end of January is tough. I don't care who you are. I've spent this week out in Spain with a pro cycling team. They're all a lot younger than me. They're all a lot lighter than me, and they've been chewing my legs off, showing me just how fast those boys can go. And so it's been an absolute pleasure to try and keep up with the pros and just see how phenomenally talented they are. But I flew home on Thursday night, took yesterday off, tried to get my legs up because I knew I had today to look forward to.
Good on you, Mark. And just give us a little bit more on that time in Spain that you spent. Who was the team? It was a specific team you were training with, obviously younger, lighter, and as you say, full-time pros. But tell us the background to that team, because it's an interesting story.
Yeah, so it's the Novo Nordisk Pro Continental team, and it's the world's only and I'll be honest, I didn't know much about diabetes before. I knew the basics in terms of the need to take insulin and monitoring glucose levels, but I didn't really understand how life-changing diabetes can be. And it's just amazing to see these athletes competing at the very top level. And, apart from their mission to be the best athletes they can and try and win races as teams, it's also to educate, to inspire, to help people overcome some of their preconceptions about what you can and can't do. Now, diabetes is a very specific thing to plan your life around. What I found is as I rode with the riders this week, the youngest is a 19-year-old high schooler from Holland. He's still a high schooler. He's in their late 20s who've been with the team for 8-9 seasons. But as I spoke to all of them about their specific challenges as athletes, it just struck me that it was such a powerful metaphor for we've all got barriers, reasons to not do things, whether it's as simple as, other people's expectations on us. And I was having these amazing conversations with these kids who, had something very specific to prove, not just to themselves, but to the wider world. And they've got a huge community globally of type 1 diabetics following them, and they've got that mission every day to show that you can still train, compete at the very top level with something like type 1. So I really enjoyed it. It was hard. I was testing out a new bike, which is always fun. And mind you, I arrived out there on Sunday and it was 9 degrees, the same as it was when I left Edinburgh. So I wasn't that chuffed. The last time I was out riding in Calpe in that area with Mr. Rob Wainwright, it was actually snowing. And that's not the reason you go to Spain in January. So it warmed up. We had some really, really good riding, but I was really tested, really tested. And a lot of you on the Zoom will appreciate, as a bike rider, you can train yourself, you can sit there and more technical than you. It really does push you, you really do learn from them. The descending in particular, just how phenomenally confident and fast they are in the corners. And it's a thrill. As you say, Nancy, I'm an endurance athlete. The engine, I can go all day. But when these guys open the throttle, it's something to behold. It really is.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, there it is. Sorry, Mark. Someone there was just not on mute, but they're now on mute. Mark, you've had a hell of a week. You've got the miles in front of you today. You do describe yourself as a diesel engine. But Rob, I'm going to come back to you now and just give us a bit of background. We're obviously in World in a Day now. More time to prepare this year for Doddy Aid. But how have you been? I know you're impressed. You're delighted. You can't believe how the community's got together and the numbers that have been raised already. But are you still in a bit of shock with how well the month is going, with just the involvement across the country and the world?
It's again, it's been uplifting to see the support, and as I keep saying, it's a lot easier to organise an event when you've got an icon like Doddy, who is he brings so many emotions out in people, but he was always lovable. Everyone always liked him. Slightly daft, always joking, wearing his daft suits. And then for him to go from that to this condition and the way he's faced up to it and fought back and said, let's do something about it, has just brought a whole new echelon of people into his fold of fans as such. And when you have such a vast diaspora of people across Scotland and beyond, and it's the people from all over the place that are impressive, to get them all back together again. And there's obviously I'm looking at who I'm riding with on Zwift at the moment, and I see lots of names that I'm beginning to get familiar with little Scottish flags next to them. But there's lots of other flags there. Gareth from Wales, South Africa, Ireland, Japan, huge number of people from all over the world. And then there's other echelons of people, the dog walkers, Andrew Cotter's fan club. And next week, we get a bit of a break. We're obviously cycling down to Cardiff again in 2 weeks' time. But next week's the dog walkers weekend. We've all these themed weekends. So the dog walkers get their moment next weekend, and it will be quietly fantastic when all the dog walkers come out, all the doggy collars and leads. And Brian Gibb, who does a lot of the merchandising, he always does a roaring trade in dog paraphernalia in the lead up to the dog weekend. So it's always, it's a hell of a lot of work sometimes. And weeks like this are brilliant for me because you, Nashi and Mark, and your team, Keith, everyone out of sight, do all the work for me this week. So it's been quite relaxing for me leading into this in terms of Doddy Aid commitments. But it's been great fun, and I'm struggling now because my fan is off because I started cold, and I'm really needing to step off and turn it on shortly.
Rob, you've been very humble there, because I'd say that you've had the toughest job this week. You've had to catch and find Ali McCoist and try and get some commitment from him. So just to let everyone know, we are expecting Ali McCoist this morning, and hopefully he'll be diving back in for chat maybe later in the day as well. But a highlight of last year's conversation was Mr. McCoist and his stories. So Rob, well done for that. I got a couple of messages.
To be fair to Ali, I chased him around for about 3.5 weeks this year, and in the last week, he's suddenly become engaged and contactable. He's on the end of WhatsApp whenever you message him. It all started with a whiskey tasting a week ago at the Doddy Aid Curry Night, and since then he's been fantastic. He's hoping to join us in a couple of hours, and well worth keeping the Zoom on there, and that's always going to be good fun.
That's it. No, he's a top man with incredible stories, and I laugh a minute when he just talks about his life and things he's experienced. So no, we'll look forward to that. If I can just keep everyone, I think we are okay at the moment. Keep your microphones, everything on mute, because we will pick up a bit of echo throughout the day. But we're going strong at the moment. I'm seeing lots of familiar names, faces. Still joining us, 78 riders on at the moment. So it's a fantastic effort, guys. Fantastic. If I can just grab Mel. Mel, good morning. You obviously were with us last year. I said hello earlier, but Mel, how are you? And I know you're off to Texas tomorrow. Don't tell us too much, because we'll get some conversation later. But how's things? How's fitness? And how's everything going?
Yeah, good, thank you. Makes a change on a Saturday morning to be on the bike and not in the pool, so that's quite nice.
Yeah, no, good on you. Good on you. And just give us a flavour. Tell us more later, but tomorrow you're obviously off on your travels.
Yeah, so this time next week I'll be preparing for my first ultra race in US.
And how's that on the mindset? Daunting, or are you ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time I've left the country since going to the New York Marathon in November 2019. So that alone is pretty daunting, to be quite honest, that kind of packing everything. But I'm really excited, really excited to get back into kind of mainstream cycling racing, although obviously very different to what I've racing-wise what I've done before.
Absolutely. But I mean, endurance and everything that you've covered, you dropped by my house and met my family, obviously, tail end of last year. Tell us about that when you went around the UK.
Yeah, that was amazing. So August to October, riding or racing for the world record around the coast of Britain. Absolutely phenomenal. I mean, so much tougher than I could even imagine, but absolutely brilliant. And seeing Britain, although I haven't left Britain, I've seen a lot of Britain, and it's been incredible. And meeting up with friends, new friends, so many communities, so many people. It was just wonderful, just getting on simple life and riding my bike every day. And actually, it's a lot easier to pack for a self-supported ride around coast of Britain when you can hardly take anything than it is trying to pack for an ultra race the other side of the ocean.
Yeah, you don't give yourself easy challenges, but I suppose that's the point. You've achieved some incredible things over the years, and this is just the next one on your list. So I think we all know that you'll absolutely smash it. But we'll check back in later. We'll get more conversations, and we can get a bit deeper into that endurance and who you're doing it with, who you're doing that challenge with. Because I think there's a whole story there as well. Mel, good luck today. Thanks for joining us. There's a young man I'm going to just ask how's he doing. Caleb McLeod, I can see you putting the miles in. How are you, young man?
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
You recovered from your Edinburgh to North Berwick stint with Davy Gibb?
Yeah, going for the big 240.
You're going for 240 today. Good on you. 14 years old from Edinburgh. Now, the main thing that I need to know is your mum recovered, because she was panicking with you on the roads from Arthur's Seat to North Berwick. Is she okay now?
Yeah, she's going for 100 miles today.
Yeah. And you're mixing it up today, though. You're at home just now, is that right? And then you're going to be at Boroughmuir Rugby Club?
Yeah, 12 till 3. We're going to be on Boroughmuir Rugby Club Terrace, doing some miles there, watching the under-18 semi-final.
Right, I can see Mum sneaking away. Shout Mum through. Where's Mum?
Mama.
I saw her sneaking away there. So yeah, Boroughmuir Rugby Club, and that is I know that you did the video. You created the video for school. How was that received?
That's been very good. Got lots of donations from teachers and people that wish me good luck for today.
Good on you. Hi, Mum. How are you?
Hello. I'm saying this is our bucket for the folks to put their donations into.
Love it. No, you guys.
Now.
I obviously met you all, the whole family at North Berwick recently. Tell us your involvement with MND, because you're a carer for MND as well, aren't you?
Yes, I'm a team leader, so deputy charge nurse for it's called ASENS, Adults with Complex and Exceptional Needs Service. So we work with NHS Lothian and look after patients at home within Edinburgh and the Lothian areas. So we've got some MND patients on our books just now, and others that are looking to come to us in the future as well. Got one lady who managed to get home for Christmas, which was fantastic.
No, it's fantastic, and just meeting your family in North Berwick. I mean, this isn't just Caleb; this is a whole family effort from you guys. So
yes.
Good on you for everything you do. And Caleb, I know we've got Stuart Hogg on, and we've also got 4:30. We've got Jamie Ritchie and Hamish Watson. So we've got lots of rugby throughout the day. I see that flag in the background. How do you think the Six Nations are going to go?
I think we could win it.
Yeah, confident. Rob, let's get Rob Wainwright, a British Lion, former Scotland captain. What are your thoughts, Rob? Six Nations ahead of us.
I don't want to get too caught up in predictions, but what I'm loving about Six Nations at the moment is that, it's a pity it's not a 6-horse race. It'd be lovely to see Italy coming up a bit in their performances, and hopefully that'll come. There's not much to split them, and a lot of conversations about an emerging France again. So France have got 2 very difficult away matches. They've got to come to Murrayfield for a start, and we've got a great record at home against them. And it could go anyway. And what's extraordinary about the place we're in now, and it'll be lovely to chat with Hoggy later on, and with the Edinburgh stalwarts who've been they've all been so supportive of Dodier as well, is that the English match used to be a bit of a thorn in our flesh, but now beating England's a bit of a habit at the moment. Albeit the last time we played them at home on extraordinary conditions. We just come in from a 500 that day, so we were kind of zombies, and then brought the match ball up, and then it was not a pretty sight in the match, and it went England's way. So it's on the 5th next week, a week today. It's not a foregone conclusion, as we all know, but it's a match that the Scottish team know they can win, and it's that mental battle that is sometimes the hardest. I remember playing the All Blacks a few times, and we put some great performances in, but I'm not sure how many of the team truly believed we could win going into the match. And it's so important in sport, in what we're doing today. I believe I can do 240 miles because I've done it before. Some people may be quite daunted because they've never done it before. And it's that done before business. If you've beaten England before a few times, as they have done in the past few years, there's a mindset in there where they go into the game, they know they can win. And that, when I was playing, we never beat England in the 90s until 2000. We basically 1990 and 2000 neatly dovetailed my career. So for a Scotland player to have never won against England. A slight dent in your Palmares, but this lot, they know they can beat England. And the other key point going into a Six Nations, you've got to win your first game. You're going to mount a campaign, you've got to win your first game. And Scotland's record over the last 2 decades on that front has not been good. We've had some really tough tests. And in the past, we would have said starting with England would have been a tough test, but actually it's a great start for us. And if we can convert the form that we have right the way through, quite a depth of players now, then I hope we can get off to a winning start. And I hope we have a great Six Nations. We've obviously got lots of other great matches coming up as well. Bring it on. Looking forward to it.
That's it. Rob, you're absolutely right. And it's across the team, we've got players that have been there and done it before now. You know, we've got more lines than we've had in recent years. We've got the strength and depth, and we've got players playing in the English Premiership, Finns and France, playing big games week on, week out with that big game mentality. There's a real shift in what we have going out in the pitch these days. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And when England roll into town, I mean, you know, our boys will be up for it. And 9 o'clock, we've got the captain on, so we can get into those questions and we can just let him. We can just let him know, as he knows. But there's people, all you guys on bikes, putting in miles, rooting for him. There's people from all over the world rooting for him and his team, and it's fantastic. And when we see young Caleb there, I can see Noah. I can see a lot of interest throughout cycling and rugby. The combination that you built, along with Mark in here, of the rugby world, the cycling world. There's a lot of good energy. There's a lot of just good vibes going on at the moment. And Six Nations is going to be a theme that we talk about and discuss, as we've got Rory Lawson on later as well with Greg Laidlaw. So there's lots of rugby chat and content throughout. If you're a rowing fan, I hope you're going to be delighted that we've got Dame Catherine Granger on later and Sir Steve Redgrave. Obviously, for you cyclists, we've got Sir Chris Hoy coming on later. Mixing it up with Dougie Vipond, John Davidson at the end of the day, who is the Mad Giraffe. If you follow along on Dorothy, the Mad Giraffe across the Atlantic. JJ Chalmers will be joining us, and then later on in the evening, around 7:30 into 8 o'clock, we've got Molly Hughes, who has summited Everest twice. She's crossed the South Pole, so we've got some really interesting guests that I'll probably drop rugby into throughout the day, get everyone's perspective. We've got, hopefully, Jason Fox. He's on tour going around the country at the moment, so we're hoping for an update from him at some point of when he can join us. I believe Kenny Logan's going to be coming on for a chat, Jim Hamilton throughout the day, and Ali McCoist, of course. So there's tons going on. There's so much going on. I can see that everybody is on mute. I do have the controls to ask you to mute, so please, if I do say or put you on mute, I'm not being rude. It's just because it will start vibrating round. Everyone knows we are live to the world. Throughout the day, there are certain times when we have to run the 4-hour stints. So we will be coming off the live feeds and then straight back on. And big thanks to Keith at Whoosh Entertainment, Whoosh Studios in Edinburgh here. He's in the background pulling the strings today. There's a whole team behind this. It is not just the people you see on social media. There is so many people behind. So a big thank you to them. They're going to be with us all day today. They're going to be producing the goods online. They're going to be helping to raise the funds to send out the links and keeping all the stories going as we sort of find them and I sort of see people and talk and interact to people. And one man I'm going to say hello to is Tommy Jiv. Tommy, good morning. I see you putting in the miles. How are you?
Hey Nashke, how's it going?
I'm good. Good to see you. How are the legs?
Legs are okay, but unfortunately my back isn't.
Oh, okay.
Fractured my vertebrae, so unfortunately it's just a short stint for me today.
Tommy, I saw that on social media. It was snowboarding.
Yeah, perhaps I should hang up my snowboard boots, but yeah, I was getting a bit cocky, had a bad fall, which has scuppered my mileage count for Team Edinburgh, but obviously been doing as much as I can to recruit new members anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you broke your back. You had it on social media. Your brother's doing backflips. The pair of you, a couple of crazies, and here you are with a fractured vertebrae, and you're on your bike. You're some family. But you just keep going, and we know we're going to get a chat with Davey later. I was on the podcast with Davey. How's the last year been for you? Obviously, I talked to you briefly last year during this event. How's the last year been? How's the family?
Yeah, nationally, it's been a busy year for us. Obviously in the background, we've got this shadow of Davey's diagnosis hanging over us all. But at the same time, we've had a brilliant year. Davey's had his first son. I've had my first son, which are the only 3 months apart. So it's been a great time of joy as well. Getting to know our kids, and Alex, 9 months old, Torrens, 7 months. So no, it's been a busy time. And yeah, well, I'm sure lots of people on will be.
Tommy, Alexander's 10 months, not 9 months.
All right, Dave.
There he is. Where is he? Let me find. He can't keep out. There he is. Morning, Davey. How are you?
Very well, Nasty. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. The twins. What about your brother breaking his back? What's that all about?
Oh my God, yeah. So we're up at Hill End just before Christmas, and just keen to get some snowboarding in our legs, a bit of airtime together before doing separate things over the Christmas period. And I leave Tommy for a couple of laps. He's going to do a few jumps on his own before coming home. Very good little set. Then I'm reversing out the car park, and I get a call from Tommy saying, come to jump, because I knew from the tone in his voice something was the matter. So I left the car, sprinted up the slope, and then there's Tommy in a world of pain, in a heap at the bottom of the jump slope. So had to get the Hill End staff involved, of course. And then it was the full paramedic team. The paramedics turned up with someone doing work experience from the army. So we had the full works stretching Tommy off the mountain.
They called the army. They called the army in
to help them off the hill.
Was he still carrying? Was he still carrying a little bit of Christmas weight? Still carrying a little bit of Christmas weight, Tommy.
Yeah, I've really been working on my dad bod this month.
You have to. You got a kid. You got a kid in the house. That dad bod's important.
But no, I must say one funny experience. Obviously, I'm very grateful to all the NHS staff who helped me out on that day. But the ambulance driver came and had a word with us as we were blue lighting on the bypass towards the hospital, and said, "Can you please call your brother and ask him to not draft the ambulance as we weave in and out traffic on the bypass." So that was Davey, Mac 10ing behind the ambulance.
Were you holding on to the bumper, Davey?
That's it. Out of 5 minutes of my living myself Grand Theft Auto, Gran Turismo dream, but it's quite quickly short-lived.
Oh, you boys! Davey, talk us about. Everyone's probably seen it. The backflips. When did you learn to do backflips snowboarding? I know your snowboarding was pretty serious when you were a younger lad. You got to be a bit more careful these days with being a dad and all these sorts of things.
So when I learned backflips, it was probably, I know, about over 10 years ago, probably, which probably aren't the most technical trick on a snowboard, but it's a trick which needs 100% commitment from the off. Yeah. It's not kind of something you can do like a 360 or a spin where if you take off wrong, you can sort of readjust midair. So you've got to commit 100%. So, and I haven't actually done one since the bungee smuggler incident of Doddy 2021. So it's been a year since I did one again. And then, of course, the last time I was up Hill End, my brother had broken his coccyx and a vertebrae. So I had added demons to overcome to do that backflip a few weeks ago. But luckily for me, I rode away nice and clean.
Nice and clean. You're backflipping, you're holding on to the back of ambulances. Tommy's breaking his back. That's only in the last month. You boys, you're a set of brothers, I'll tell you that. Davey, we'll check in with you in a wee while. There's another couple of people that have joined. We're up to 80 people on the call at the moment, and as I've said, we're going out live to the world. So there's lots going on. There's a young man I've seen called Noah. Noah, if you unmute, I think, Noah, you joined us last year, didn't you?
Yeah, hi Nashi.
How are you? Remind us where you're based.
Yeah, not too bad, are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Am I right in saying last year, is it rugby and cricket are your sports with cycling as well? How's last year been for you?
Yeah, good. Nice to get back to be able to do a bit of sport.
Absolutely, but remind me, is it rugby or cricket? What's your main sport?
Rugby at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm quite enjoying it.
Yep, and how do you see the Six Nations going?
I'd like to say England, but we've got quite an inexperienced team, so we'll see.
Yeah, you can't say that on here. You can't say that on here, okay?
No.
You can't, Noah, come on, you got to know your crowd. There's a lot of Scotsmen on here. But Noah, it's great to see you back. Last year, how many miles are you going for?
I'm going to try for 240, but we'll see.
Fantastic. Good on you. I'll check in with you throughout the day. Keep going. Great to see you back. Thanks for joining us again.
Cheers.
Richard Ellis. How are you, sir? Oh, I can unmute. Go ask to unmute.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
Hi, not too bad.
Good, good. How are the legs this morning?
All right, so far. As I told you earlier before we came online, my feet isn't. I was setting up, gave way underneath me, so I need to lose a few pounds.
You've recovered. What sort of mileage are you going for today?
For 100 today.
For 100, fantastic. Good on you. Well, here, keep going. I'll be checking in and out throughout the day. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Who else can I see? Where's Simon Hill? Simon Hill, I met, there he is, asked to unmute. Now, Simon is a gentleman that I met last week in North Berwick when Davey, Caleb and the team rolled into town. And Simon, you need to tell me, is there confidentiality agreement about what haircuts the Scottish rugby players get?
Not so much. I've not been invited to team camp this year, so I need to try and get a word in the ear of somebody.
Okay. Well, Hoggy, hey, the players are coming on, so you can ask them. I'll maybe say to that. Simon's wondering whose hair he's going to cut. But how did you get that gig? Is it one of the players you knew? Is it someone that just brought you into camp and you sort of became a hairdresser for a lot of the players?
Yes, it's been a long. I mean, I've been hairdressing for a long time, and I became quite friendly with a guy, Phil Burley, who's at Edinburgh.
Yeah.
A number of years ago, and Phil's a great guy, and was living quite near the salon at the time. And just started dragging in more and more bodies, and it's I thought they must have liked it, so they kept coming back.
That's it. And yourself, obviously, a big rugby fan. The Six Nations were rolling into town. They're upon us. Oh, sorry, I'm just keeping an eye on everyone that's coming in at the moment. It's getting busy. The Six Nations are upon us. How do you see things unfolding? Just with the Scotland team at the moment, England, the strength of France?
I would say I'm horribly confident.
Nervously confident.
But I have this every year. It's, I think, 100% this year. But no, I think it looks really positive. I think France will be good. I think Wales are there for the taking. I think England are there for the taking. And my other half of my family are Irish, so that always makes it interesting when that comes up.
Yeah, Irish game 19th of March, so that's the last one. Maybe it'll come down to that. Who knows what it'll come down to? Obviously, that last weekend is usually
nerves
super
would be
important.
shot.
Nerves would be shot. No, good on you. This is fantastic, guys. Simon, I'll check in throughout the day. Keep going. Good luck for today. Where's Mark? Mark, knowing you and knowing the way that you take on challenges, I see you on your phone there. Your ability to multitask and your ability to do a million things at once. How are you going to deal with all these things today? Because I've been messaging you already. There'll be people. Was that Nikki? Morning, Nikki.
I heard you say multitask. He can only multitask on a bike. He can't multitask anywhere at the time.
We'll get that bike in the kitchen. That's where it needs to be. Nikki, how are you? How are the girls?
I'm good, thanks, Nashi. They're fast asleep still, but yeah, they're great. Thank you.
Good effort. I can hear mine. There's a ruckus outside the door there that's barricaded with chairs and all sorts of stuff. So no, but no, good on you. He's doing another world in a day. What's the prep like in the Beaumont household behind the scenes for when he takes on these challenges?
I don't think we've done much prep this time, but I'm in the kitchen at the moment making pancakes.
Yeah, we've got pancakes and coffee. Anyone want pancakes and coffee?
I bet there is. I bet there's tons of people who fancy that. Nikki, good to see you. Mark, but I mean, at multitasking, everything that you do, everything that you put together, you're probably writing books at the moment, podcasts, all sorts of things going on, and then you fit in a world in a day, the prep that I see, that the team sees behind it. How do you do it? What's your strategy? How do you look at big events like this?
Well, Rob Wainwright WhatsApped me last night or the night before, sort of saying, Mark, I'm going to drop you out one of the WhatsApp groups, almost as an apology, just sort of saying, don't take any offense, we're not dropping you. And I was like, thank God, we're down to 19 WhatsApp groups rather than the 25 I was in earlier in the month. There is quite a lot behind the scenes that people don't see, but I mean, Richard, you on the camera,
yep.
You from the camera on social media, obviously Davey, Team Edinburgh captain, Mel. We've got so many people on this call already that's 80, and I can think of 8 or 10 people who are not just actively clocking the miles and fundraising, but they're actually, volunteering and helping behind the scenes, and it's a lot of work. I mean, yes, World in a Day was my idea, but as you know, I outsource it quite effectively to yourself, Nashi, Keith, Ben on the website, Gregor on the newsletter. I mean, there's a team. You say I'm good at multitasking, but that was actually me WhatsApping Mum. I don't care how experienced you are, pedaled around the planet twice, you've still got to say morning, Mum. She's still there saying, good luck, Mark, big day. So, no, that's Mum. That's Una for those that have read any of my books. Una is also known as Base Camp. When I was a 12-year-old kid pedaling across Scotland, she was Mum, and then she worked for 14 years on my expeditions with me, and she's amazing. She's not running Base Camp the way she did. We're trying to get her back to being Mum and Granny now, because for years and years she was my colleague, trying to plan world record-breaking expeditions, which I'm really proud of, because it's nice to have family at the heart of what you do. Oh, there's the next.
There's one of them. Who have we got?
All right, Harriet's hiding. So yeah, because it's funny, isn't it? So I imagine the day that Harriet and the boys meet. I'm looking forward to that. That's the dynamic I had with my mum, and it was just an absolute pleasure to share all those big adventures with with family for all those years. So
let's think that through. With Una and your mum sort of being base camp and helping you in planning and logistics and things like that, imagine your kids having you as base camp, being there, done it with your experience, the way you've been around the world. What would the future hold for them if they go into that world, if they go into some endurance? Because obviously Harriet and yourself went round every street in Edinburgh. How old's Harriet?
Harriet's now 8. She was 6 when she did every street in Edinburgh, which was 510 miles. So I mean, not no wonder. It took 3 months. It took 3 months. We've got Nigel Moss on this call, and I hadn't seen Nigel for years. And I was running down his street. And I was like, Nigel, how you doing? And so I got to bump into people I'd not seen for a long time through going down every cul-de-sac, every roundabout, every road in Edinburgh.
And what was the logistics like for that? Obviously, you had the map out the night before. Would you plan your route?
Yeah.
What was the logistics, and how did Harriet take to that in the planning stages?
Yeah, there's an American, for those that haven't heard this story before, there's an American ultra runner called Richie Gates. It's worth looking him up on YouTube. He's got a really cool Salomon film about how he ran every street in San Francisco. And at the start of lockdown number 1, I watched that little video, 20 minutes long. I thought, that's amazing. This guy's run across America, and then he thought, well, I don't really know home. That sense of home and the community that we're a part of became all the more important during the COVID period. So I said to Harriet, my daughter, rather than going for a cycle around the park, why don't we try and explore every street near where we live? And we got hopelessly, not lost, but we lost track of what roads we'd been down. We were really inefficient, and you end up doing loads more miles than you need to cover the ground. Came home, got a highlighter pen and coloured in the roads, and the next day said, well, we better plan this a little bit better and actually sort of make, like one of those little kids plans where you try and sort of join up the entry to the end of the maze in the most efficient way. When you're doing every street challenge, it's like that. And we did that about 6 days a week for 3.5 months, and got to colour in the whole of Edinburgh. And so you think home, because of where your friends and family live across the city, but there's so many parts in this beautiful city that I'd not explored before. And when you go through every housing estate, every cul-de-sac, gives you a totally different appreciation of home. But it was also a really powerful conversation with Harriet, because some days it rained, some days we couldn't be bothered, some days you're just not that excited about it. But she wanted to write to Blue Peter and get her Blue Peter badge. And she wanted to go back to school and tell her teachers that she'd cycled every street in Edinburgh. So it allowed me to have that really simple but powerful conversation with a 6-year-old to say, well, if that dream mattered, then today needs to happen. You don't need to smash it out of the park, you don't need to go further, but you do need to turn up. And just that ruthless consistency, just regardless of how you feel or what's happening in the world, just putting an effort in. So, and I got to spend over 100 hours, father and daughter, just chatting about the world, which is, in a time which was really, really hard for so many other reasons, was just such an unexpected, pleasure, and something I'll remember forever. So, I mean, I very much doubt they'll grow up to do expeditions. I certainly won't push them in that direction. But the amazing thing about my mum is she's remarkably good at not wearing the mum hat. And I think as a parent, it's always tempting to sort of step in and hit the brakes and, be trying to control your kids, even when they grow up. And, the thing I respect most about Una is she's always been good at supporting me without taking her mum hat off and saying, actually, you've now got more experience of this than I do. I've got an important part in the team, but I'm not going to control you. So when I'm climbing mountains, rowing the oceans, going to quite difficult, dangerous places, she's never once said, son, I don't want you to do that. She's always trusted me that this is my world and she's supporting it. And I think that's a superpower. Now that I'm a dad, how protective we all are of our kids, to have that incredible trust in your kids and to support them in their ideas, especially when they're doing stuff which, is difficult and dangerous, I think is just amazing. I hope I can do the same.
Well, you are, and I can already see it now. I can already see a little adventure book coming from Harriet. If you haven't authored, it's probably in the pipeline already. It's probably your next project, and it would be a huge success, because for a 6-year-old to do what she did, I've got my boys. That's a challenge. You got to get the kids in the right mindset to do. Now, tell me, at least some days there was a promise of chocolate at the end when she got home, or there was a treat at the end or something. She had that mentality of, if I get this done, there's a reward at the end.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of psychology when you're, the carrot and the stick. I think for children, it's mainly about the carrot. It's mainly about what you can look forward to. As an adult, and you build that responsibility, it can be a bit more about the fear of failure. And, so I think occasionally for Harriet, it was about, I really want to do this, because if I don't do it, I don't get to write to Blue Peter. That's like the fear of failure. But as you say, a lot of the time, there was a lot of short-term targets around, right, we'll do another 15 minutes and you can have a tic-tac, or whatever it was.
A tic-tac?
Yeah. The tic-tac monster. You have to ask Harriet about the tic-tac monster.
Okay.
Just little things that, just get you to the next corner, the next little horizon. The fear of, as I say, sometimes you need spurred on by, I mean, we're no different when we grow up, are we? I always think if you're going to have a psychological crash on the bike, it's often paired with a nutritional crash. So if you start to feel grumpy, just eat something.
That's it. And when we talk nutrition, 8 o'clock this morning, we've got Alan Murkiston coming on, Michelin-starred performance chef. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. Not for me, for you guys that are going to just hopefully pick up hints and tips for him, something you've maybe not thought about. Someone can run to the shops and grab you something that will give you that boost of energy later in the day. So he is on at 8 o'clock. For everyone that's watching at home, whether you're on the live feed on Facebook, YouTube, what a day we've got ahead of us with guests coming on all the hours. We've got 9 o'clock, Stuart Hogg, 10 a.m. Dame Catherine Granger, 11 a.m. Jill Douglas with an important update on where we are with the Doddy Aid Foundation. 11:20 for you rugby fans, we've got Greg Laidlaw coming in from Japan. He will then be joined by Rory Lawson. So 2 former Scotland captains, scrum half. Obviously, Rob Wainwright will be chiming in there as well to give some rugby updates and some conversation. We've got, hopefully, Ailey Barber, Edinburgh team captain. She's working today at Ross County versus Rangers. She's on the comms there, but hopefully she's going to join us in between the game and when she can for a little bit of live chat. 1 o'clock, Sir Steve Redgrave. He will be joining us. What is there to say about Steve Redgrave? Everybody knows the man. An incredible Olympian, incredible ambassador for Great British sport. And I can't wait to speak to him at 1 p.m. We've got Mark and we've got his mate Steve Bate coming on, Paralympian. This was a late call-up just last night. I received a message from Steve. Mark, give us a bit of background on Steve, because obviously me sitting up last night with a guest that I wasn't overly familiar with, but an incredible story. And the one thing that, or lots of things that I want to discuss with him, he climbed El Cap over in San Francisco. Incredible guy.
Yeah, so Mel will know Steve as well from the British Paralympic team.
Yeah.
And, he's a good buddy. He's got a degenerative eye disease, which basically means he's got tunnel vision. So he races on the back of a tandem, and he was out there at Tokyo. I think he was at Rio. But his former life was as a mountaineer. He planned to be a guide until his eyesight stopped him from taking that forwards. And he found his superpower on the bike on the track. He's retired now after Tokyo. He came back and he had a hip operation, and he's fought back strong, and he wants to now get back into the adventure world, which was his passion before. But, you know, with a degenerative eye condition, that's an added challenge. He last month did the Badger Divide, which is a gravel route in Scotland. I got a couple of WhatsApp from him saying that he was freezing his nuts off riding through the night in the Cairngorms and down to Glasgow. So he's a real adventure man, and just got such a positive approach. He's grew up in New Zealand. He's kind of got these incredible Maori tattoos, which is an odd compliment for a redhead. He's an absolute specimen of an athlete. And when I first did World Mid Day in 2020, virtually like this, he was there every single week with me, smashing out at 240 like it was nothing. So he'll be on at some point this afternoon. But a lovely, humble guy. But what an engine he's got.
These superhumans, they walk amongst us. And there's what have we got? I've got 84 superhumans online at the moment, guys. So keep going. But we're going to bring on people like Steve Bate later on to keep you going. Guys that have been to the limit, guys that have pushed themselves beyond what they thought was possible. So do stick with us, stick in throughout the day, join throughout the day. If you're watching at home, if you're not on the Zoom, but you're watching in, you're on your bike, you're walking, whatever you may be doing, please do keep communicating across social media. Spread the word for what's going on today and support these riders, because they all need your support. We're going to get them all through the 240. And for all the people that are joining, doing 100 miles, 50 miles, 5 miles, good on you. Do what you can, raise as much as you can, and keep going. So following Steve Bate, we have Sir Chris Hoy, 3 p.m. this afternoon. Looking forward to that conversation. There's lots to discuss there. But I also want to know, it's really interesting when you go onto Sir Chris Hoy's Wikipedia, the first thing it describes him as is a racing car driver, which we all know that he does now. But the Olympics comes a bit later. So it's amazing to think that from such an established Olympian, one of the greatest ever, to now be a racing car driver, to push himself again to the absolute limit and a new discipline. A really interesting topic there as well. He's also written some children's books, and as a father of 3, I'm interested in that conversation of what he sees in the future, future generations, and what he's trying to give with all his experiences. As we roll into a bit more rugby. 4:30 today, Jamie Ritchie and Hamish Watson. So some Six Nations chat, but they've been heavily involved with Team Edinburgh, so there'll be lots of conversations there. Dougie Vipond at 5 p.m. Dougie, obviously, a massive supporter of the Doddy Aid charity. He's coming on. There'll be a bit of Deacon Blue chat. He is taking on the Doddy Aid Cup, 500 miles from Edinburgh to Cardiff. So there'll be lots of fun there and conversations to have. We'll get Rob and Mark and anyone else that's doing the Doddy Aid Cup on for a chat then. 6 p.m. we've got the Mad Giraffe, John Davidson. He has rode the Atlantic. He's former SAS. He was delighted to get the call up for this. He has got many a story to tell, and he'll be entertaining us as we head into the evening hours when there'll still be some miles to cover. And then we've got Molly Hughes, Everest summiteer. She's done it twice. She's crossed the South Pole, an inspirational lady, delighted when she said yes to coming on. So we've got heaps going on today. We've got lots of conversations to have. I've spoken to quite a lot of you already. I'm keeping an eye out for familiar faces and names that pop up. If anyone does want to come on, have a chat, you can see the chat at the bottom of the Zoom, so please do communicate with me. As I say, there's a lot going on. I'll try and pick up every message and on earlier. You could to get a little check-in with Paul.
Hello.
Are you there, Paul? Where are you? I can't find you. Where's my... Oh, there you are. Hello, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
It's great to have you along. Great to see you. Give us a bit of background, obviously, with your involvement with MND, what you've been doing for the charity, and your dad's story.
Yeah, so dad was diagnosed with MND a year after Doggy was, end of 2017, and obviously we were already following Doggy's story, but it kind of really hit home what Doggy was going through as well, and it sort of spurred us as a family to kind of see what we could do to help in any way we could. Dad was massively into the outdoors. Had always been really keen on completing the Munros. So he was at 263 when he was 268, sorry, when he was diagnosed. So he was 15 short of completing his round. So when it became apparent that he wasn't going to be able to finish them off, we took up the challenge and as a family went and finished up the last 15 and tried to raise as much as we could for the foundation at the same time.
Incredible. So he was a mountain man.
Very much so, yeah.
And was that installed in you guys from childhood, or is it something that was just his passion?
Yeah, that would be a stretch. Mum and Dad used to try, but I don't think any of us were ever really taken particularly by it as kids. So I mean, when we, to some people, climbing 15 Munros probably doesn't seem like a huge challenge, but for 4 pretty unfit, 30-somethings who hadn't been up a mountain for 20 odd years, for us it was a bit of a challenge, some more so than others.
Yeah, I'll bet. But good on you, and obviously you've been well supported by Doddy Aid and everything, and we see the tweets and the involvement in just this community. How have you been affected by the community, the amount of people that have got involved and they were aware of your story, your dad's legacy and everything that you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the minute we kind of decided to fundraise for the foundation, they've been absolutely brilliant. The support we've had, not just kind of from the foundation, but from everyone else who's in some way involved in the foundation, whether it's just with fundraising or something like that. We've had amazing support right through from diagnosis. He passed away at the end of last year. And, it's obviously a tough time for the whole family, but the support that we've continued to receive has been just incredible. It's why we kind of, as a family, we've all signed up for Doddy again this year. I think there's 13 of us in our league with an age range of 92 years between oldest and youngest. And yeah, we're just, we're determined to continue to do anything and everything we can to try and hopefully find some sort of treatments or cure so that other families won't have to go through what ours has.
Yeah, no, well done you, well done to your family, and it's a fantastic effort. I enjoy following. I know you've got more charity events coming up and you'll be looking for support for that, so we'll be helping as best we can across social media to try and get auction items and all these sorts of things as time goes on. So keep doing what you're doing. What's the plan today on the bike? What are you thinking mileage?
Well, it's safe to say cycling is definitely not my forte. Like, I only got a bike recently when I actually inherited my dad's. So I've only had a bike a few weeks. So to be honest, I have no idea. I don't think I've ever cycled more than about 25k in my life. To put it in context, I dug the fan out and I turned it on and got a face full of dust. It's not really something that I'm set up to do. I've got a very Pete Robinson setup going on here. But we'll see where we get to.
All we can see is you look like a pretty organised guy on a bike, the headset's on, you look the part, whatever else is going on around you. I think we're probably all like that. I think everyone's got food and set up around them that's absolute carnage. But the miles on the bike's what's important. So good on you, Paul. Thanks for joining us. If I see you later on, we'll try and check in throughout the day. And obviously 7:30 tonight, when we're talking mountains, we've got Molly Hughes on. She's been up and summited Everest twice. That might be an interesting conversation for you to listen into later. Get some tips on how to get up these Munros efficiently.
Absolutely. My girlfriend, my wife, sorry, I forget what she is these days. She actually she knows Molly quite well. They used to play netball together.
Oh, okay. Good man. Well, here, Paul. Have a great day. Thanks for coming on. Okay, speak to you later.
Yeah, speak to
you. Now, where is my man Davy Jiv? Davy, are you there? Can you hear me? There he is. Ask to unmute.
Hello, Nasty.
Davy, how are you?
Good. Just still 1 hour in now. My friend Malcolm's coming to give me support.
Good morning, Malcolm. How are you?
He's dropped me. He's about 8k in front already. So good to have him around for support.
Oh, sorry, he's on the bike as well. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Fantastic. I was about to ask, is he getting the pancakes and coffee in like the Beaumont household, but he's actually on the bike? Good.
Yeah. What was that? So my wife is giving our son Alec breakfast now, but I'm hoping she's overhearing this to bring pancakes and coffee through shortly.
Forget that. Get Alec on. Where is Alex? We want to see
he's mid-breakfast. He's a bit messy right now, but he'll be on later on, Nashi.
Davy, this week, obviously, you put a recent post out, and it was from the heart, and you were giving us an update on everything that sort of goes into a day, a week, what you have to go through, the amount of specialists you have to see. Can you just take us through that a little bit? Because there'll be people on here that maybe haven't seen it. Just what's involved in your day-to-day, just to keep going, to try and keep pushing forward, to try and stretch out everything that's happening.
Yeah, thanks, Nashi. I think it's been incredibly rewarding and motivating, and I mean, it's the support around Doddy. It's just been amazing. Also gives, I suppose, everyone in the wider MMD community and the individuals affected, with family members, with individuals affected personally with MMD, a platform and a voice. I think we've had such incredible support coming out from everyone around Doddy's challenge and my challenge with MMD, because we're doing some fantastic fundraising and awareness building, some incredible events like this one here. But it's a day-to-day. I need to manage my health day to day. I'm not managing my health to get fitter or get a six-pack or for the next race. I'm keeping fit so I can dress my son. I can open jam jars. I can text on my phone. So there's part of me which is constantly fighting the fight against MMD, because I am with the nature of the progressive character of the condition, I am on a long, icy slope. And I'm one of the lucky ones, because most people diagnosed died within 2 years, and their slope is a lot steeper than mine. But I'm on a slow, icy, a steady, icy slope. And unless I run back up it naturally, I lose health, I lose dexterity, I lose strength. And the nature of the disease, you lose something, you're not getting it back. So I need to be as proactive as I can to keep strength in my hands, my upper body, my neck, my core. Luckily for me, my legs are still fine like pistons, but I'm feeling the effects in my upper body more and more. So I see various specialists throughout the week. I do lots of different exercises. I'm on different drugs, but this week particularly, it's been a busy week. I'm doing a neural physio on Monday, who's identifying the more mechanical elements of the condition. The fact that I've got some muscles which are totally wasted, which puts pressure because I over-rely on other muscles. So how to better build the muscles which aren't wasting at the same pace as some of the others in my upper body, to keep my strength and dexterity as alive as possible. And then, Doddie's been such a huge support for me since I moved back to Edinburgh a couple of years ago. So I see his chiropractor, which is down near where Doddie stays, in the Borders. And this guy he's a magician. So I see him, and his approach is not really, I don't think Sean McGrath would agree with everything he does. His type of medicine comes from a different place, but it's about unlocking energy and spinal fluid in your body to keep your nerves as fired as possible, your neurons working as fired as possible. And I swear my energy levels, which are dulled compared to what they were, because obviously my nervous system is under duress the whole time. I swear my energy levels this week, after seeing my chiropractor, have been better. And then, on Wednesday, I had my nurse round, who, I don't like this test because it's not something I can see day to day. My hands, my arms, I can test how I'm working. When I ride my bike, I've got Strava, I've got whatever to see how my fitness is either maintaining or declining. But my nurse came down to test my lung capacity. And this is obviously, people, there's a lot of people I know, Paul, a lot of people on the call, my family members with MMD, but obviously there's the degeneration element of your health and mobility. But, when it's in your lungs, respiratory system, that's when the decline is that much quicker. So I had the nurse around testing my lung capacity this week, and it's dropped slightly to what it's 3 months ago. But I'm hoping that is due to the gluttony of Christmas rather than the degeneration of my muscles in my chest. And I think, although I'm on different drugs now, it's the cycling, it's the positive mental attitude, and keeping as fit as I can, which keeps my chest, my core, my lungs working. So I've got to keep up fighting the fight. So well in the day, my lungs are getting good workout today.
You are, David. Obviously, I'm keeping you talking. I won't keep you on for too long. But David, what is it that you're doing strength-wise? Obviously, you can get on your bike, but is it gyms that you go to? Is it band work? What do you do to just try to keep the body moving? Is it sort of lightweight exercises and things like that?
It's more, I did have a gym membership, but then in lockdown and everything else, I've got a few very light weights and TheraBand exercises I do. And, in the wider scheme of things, it's only so much an elastic band can do against a uncurable degenerative condition. But it does, it has a huge benefit. So I do a lot of core work, I do a lot of stretching, and a lot of very light exercises, which I think a lot of people will be very used to. But the fact is, because of the wasting of my and stiffness of my hands, forearms, and shoulders, I need to basically keep my range of movement as accessible and as wide as possible. So every other, and then but I've also got to watch out the fact that again, there's not a lot of data science to back it up, but a lot of doctors maintain you shouldn't overwork certain muscles if you've got motor neuron disease in a certain way, because you may cause more damage, because obviously the electricity, then the muscles aren't working the same way. It's why they're dropping off in the first place. So I've got to be careful not to over exert some of the muscles, my upper body and my hands. So every other day, at least 3 times a week, I've got quite a long routine of working core, my range of movement with different exercise and a lot of yoga positions too. But really the main thing I do is I keep walking. I do a lot of pram pushing this last year. And I keep riding my bike, which obviously is very good for my core, my legs. Obviously, as we'll all know, in a few hours' time, there's quite a lot of upper body toning, a lot of spine stretching involved. So I think when I did this last year, and actually, by the end of the day, it wasn't really my legs which were complaining. It was the cramp in my lats, my arms, my hands, my neck, and that's very much brought on or exacerbated from the condition. So today I need to make sure I need to stay hydrated. I'm on quinine supplements to lower or mitigate some of the severe cramping I get, because on a bad day I cramp so severely, my arms and hands just lock. I need help unlocking them. So today I need to make sure I hydrate properly. I take my supplements, and also by the end of the day, my arms, my back and hands won't be locking. So I need to make sure I'm keeping stretching throughout the day.
Yeah, now David, listening to you and your brother talk about your adventures and things like that when we met. Sorry, I think somebody needs to go on mute if that's possible. I'll try and find them. But David, we were talking at North Berwick, and you said to me, Nashi, wherever you go and jump off those rocks and do that coaster, and I want to do it. So this is a good opportunity. We're going to do that, David. We might not be able to do it in the window of Doddy Aid, but we're definitely going to do some fundraising down in East Lothian when the time's right. And we're going to go do some coasteering. So we will be looking for people to come and join us, jump off the cliff edges, do the coasteering with a company called Ocean Vertical, that are going to be doing more stuff for Doddy Aid. So Davey, your thirst for adventure, your thirst for pushing your body, is admirable. Now, what are your thoughts that day? I was thinking, can we get a cliff that if we jump enough times, we get to a mile? If we get enough people jumping repetitively.
Definitely, we'll jump a mile for Doddy Aid. Jump a vertical mile for Doddy Aid.
We could try and jump.
I can't wait for that, Nashi. Obviously, the water's a bit cooler. But what I saw your birthday you went out for with Ocean Vertical.
Yeah, I've done it a few times, but my birthday was Abby, my wife. On my birthday, she gave me the morning off, and I went and jumped off rocks and all that sort of stuff, and then went back to the family and the kids later. But no, it was great. So yeah, we do it along at North Berwick, Dunbar. There's some really good cliffs if they get the tide right. Wetsuits on, all the gear, the safety kit, all the bits and pieces. But I thought that would be quite a good event if we could try and jump a vertical mile.
Definitely. So I think hopefully a few people on the call today can come join us down the East Coast, because we'd love that, Nasty. That'd be a great event to do.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it.
I can see Jill at the foundation will be panicking now about insurance and liability. But, I'm up for that. Sounds brilliant.
No, we'll get it done. We'll get it booked in at some point, and I don't know what the numbers is that they can take out safely, but we'll do something. We'll maybe raffle the tickets to get a big day jumping off and scaring each other. We'll do something. But Davey, your thirst for adventure is endless. Everything you do for the charity, the way you've told your story, the honesty, and the way that you connect with the community The way I saw you guys roll into North Berwick last week with young Caleb in the team, and I met Simon, I met your other brother, is it Sorley?
Yeah, Sorley, yeah, he's the...
Just from you as a family to the community to the team Edinburgh to everything that's going on, an incredible month, but it goes beyond Doddy Aid, and for what you do in the charities involvement, it's fantastic, Davy. So stick in today, keep going. You know me, I'll be checking in on you.
Please do, Nasty. Well, again, thanks for everyone. Again, the support this month has been tremendous. There's a few important people to thank on the call. See, Commander Rob pushing the envelope on everyone's behalf. The work that Mark does, bringing the community together after the World of Day is just such a monumental event in the saddle, but also what it generates in the background. So huge thank you to them and everyone on the call today. But big thanks to you, Nasty, as well. It's a great day, and it's all about raising money, getting after it, and raising awareness for MMD. So thanks for everyone for sweating their breakfast out so far. It's only 7:30, but we've already got a few miles on the clock. So have a great day, everyone.
Good on you, Davey. Good on you. Commando Rob, what a great name. The King of Call is another one.
Rob, none of which will go down very well with the people of Call, I'm sure.
this time last year, and I know it's a pretty well-known story, but I take it you're not barred from any pubs at the moment. You're all right with the hotel staff and anything like that?
It's I'm not barred from the pub. I've lived here for 22 years. I've done lots of things on the rugby field, but if you go into Google, the first thing that comes up is getting barred from the pub for having a wee altercation with a friend. So there are worse things to be the first on their Google search, I'm sure. But things are good on Call. I was talking about the blowy wind about half an hour ago. We had a miniature power cut, and I was in a fantastic little peloton cruising along with a group of people drafting along, and they all disappeared. So I've been on my own on the roads of Zwift, but I've just been caught up by a large group of Japanese people who've picked me up, and we're going very fast now. So the weirdest things happen on Zwift, but we've seen some young lads cycling today, which is fantastic. I was meant to be cycling next to my son, and he was meant to be on the ferry coming back today, but the ferry's been cancelled. So I rung up Mark and said, had he got spare setup that Dougie could go on? And he said, yeah, no problem. So I got in touch with Dougie, who was down at a course in North Berwick, saying, Mark will help you out. And if you go to Mark's, he'll have all the kit, and you'll probably walk away with a lot of it. And so he had the opportunity for a huge stash, but then a seat came up on the aeroplane, and his mother told him about it. And he has passed up a big stash of Mark's kit to come home and sweat it out next to me. So respect to Dougie for his priorities, but missed opportunity. I think the Beaumont kit bag is bulging with stuff that Mark would have shared with him.
It's safe for another year, but that's a huge raffle opportunity for next year, Rob. World in a day, sat beside Mark Beaumont, pancakes, coffee, the whole 9 yards, bag of kit when you leave. No, it's good. I'm heading to Tyree for Easter, so I'm going to give you a wave as we pass Call, and I'll need to get some pointers and the good spots on Tyree, the good beaches.
Oh well, I mean, there's beautiful beaches on both islands. The knee-jerk reaction when you talk about Tyree for someone from Call is to slag it off, but and from someone for Tyree of Call, don't worry. But we have a wealth of beautiful beaches, and we have some lovely rocky outcrops to jump off as well. As Mark Beaumont can bear testament, he was overdoing the an Argyll and Islands promotional video of all the things you could do, and he did a number of things on Tyree, and then came over to Call. did a wee cycle with us, and then we took him down the rocks, and we all jumped in off our cliff jumping spot. So you'll love it on Tyree. Beautiful, beautiful island as well.
Have I still got the Strava segment outside the airport? Has somebody picked me?
Yes, it's still yours. In fact, as we get older, the Cole Cycling Club, and we've been out in all the hurricanes that there are, because you only get segments normally when there's a hurricane behind you, because that's the way it works. You need the tailwind. But the one that eludes us is your one, which wasn't done with a massive tailwind.
But I should point out, doing Strava segments, going for King of the Mountains on Col or any of the West Coast Islands, you do take your life in your hands, because you've got a strip of tarmac where the tire tracks go, and then you've got grass in the middle. And then occasionally, even those little strips of tarmac are sort of contoured with rabbit warrens underneath, with tree roots. And so you've got this little strip of bumpy tarmac that you're trying to go full gas on. And it's pretty exciting. It's not like your usual sort of margins of error where you can use the entire road to pick your best line. So cycling on the West Coast is beautiful, but you do need to keep your eyes open.
I've done a couple of segments in the past, Mark, where the light has been fading, but I know that the wind's right, and I've been chasing the KOM on it. And then you get to the descents on those little trickles of tarmac, and you're going 40 miles an hour down the hill with the wind behind you, and you realize that your priorities are all wrong. And chasing a KOM in these conditions is frankly ridiculous, and you have to slow down. But I've left the road a few times when you run out of that little strip.
Well, the trouble is, Rob, if you crash, you are the local emergency service on call, so you can't help yourself. Call the fire brigade. That's you. Call the lifeguard. That's you.
It's me and many other people, luckily, and we've got a fantastic GP, Celine here, and Yelcha, who helps her. So we've got a really good medical team here. And I'm actually, having said I was floating out in the middle of nowhere on Zwift, I've been joined by soon-to-be teammate for 2 weeks' time, Dr. Steve Romans, who's pacing me along now. Another West Coast doctor who's gone down to his wife's neck of the woods and regularly seems to cycle from wherever he lives to Worthing on the south coast, as I see on Strava. But I'm sure Steve's out there in among the Zoomers, and I'm thanking him for pulling us along here.
It's all good, guys. Mark, there'll be people that don't know, Rob, you do a lot on the island. What would you say is your main role on the island?
Farming my farm is definitely the main role. I'm a farmer on call, and in any small community, one fulfills lots of other small roles. And I'm a volunteer firefighter and a volunteer Coast Guard as well, which used to be not a huge commitment, but I have to say, when you add it all up and then they decide you need to upgrade your first aid training with a 3-day course, it does mount up. But no, definitely a farmer, a full-time or a part-time farmer, a part-time charity cyclist, which is obviously an enjoyable part-time, and then a few other little roles as well.
I remember I played for the Penguins many years ago, and we were on one of the transfers from the airport to the plane, and there's this old codger starts speaking to us players, and he has a chat and this, that, and the other, and we never thought anything of it, but he was going around us, he was getting names, and he was chatting away. We got there, and he's the kind of guy, he had a job to do at the airport in Orkney, and we saw that, oh, there's that guy again, there's that guy. It turned out he was the head of the rugby club as well, and he was the main man on stage doing the speech at night. So he was just a guy on the plane for us, but he actually was doing about 20 jobs on the Isle of Orkney to just keep things moving. It sounds like you've got a similar lifestyle there on call.
Well, when you have only 200 people to divide all the jobs up between, I don't have to work on the Calmat beer. I don't have to serve at the bar. I don't have to help at the shop. So the jobs are all divvied up. But I think there's real parallels between what we're doing now in the community of Body Aid and the World in a Day and small community, small island community in particular, where community is so important. And people often say to me when they don't really know my circumstances, other than that I live on a fairly remote Hebridean island, it must be somewhere where you don't see many people. But anyone that lives in a small community will know that it's quite the opposite. And sometimes it's a desire to not see people that comes out. So we've got so many good friends here. But the socializing can get out of hand. So I'm a wee bit rough this morning. We were scanning sheep yesterday, and the scanners came over. It's his final time. He's been doing it for years. Came over from Dalmally, and he brought his partner with him. And the agricultural department man was in doing an inspection, but he was caught for another day. And now today's ferry's been cancelled, so he's here for another day. So he's an ex-farmer as well. He stepped in, and we had a really good team of people who were all, the scanner had come over. Everyone else was just stuck on the island and needing entertained and happy to work away. So, and then I had to take them out for a couple of pints at the end of play. So my sweats are a slightly different flavour than I would expect this morning after 3 pints of heavily at 5 p.m. yesterday. But the joys of island life.
Standard preparation, getting the pints in for a 240-mile ride. Good on you, Rob.
Alcohol is a very, very good energy source. I'm sure that Mr. Murchison will tell you that.
What's in that mug?
In this one?
Yeah.
Bog standard builder's tea. So my wife has kindly brought me the first serving of the day.
Rob, on the curry night recently, it was Ali McCoy and Dougie Vipond were planning a festival on call. So I'm interested to know what sort of numbers you think the island could cope with Doddy Aid and Snoods heading over there. How many people?
Well, if they're all camping and they don't need lush accommodation, it's an interesting question. I don't really know by how much the island population multiplies on, peak of the middle of the summer. I've always imagined that in the middle of winter, we're probably down at about 160, and we're probably 3 times that at the peak of the summer, I'm guessing. So about 320 visitors. We've got about 20 to 25 self-catering properties on the island now. When I moved here, I think there were 2, because there was nobody came to call. It was a real backwater. And it's amazing how it's changed over the last 2 decades. So there's a fair amount of accommodation. There's plenty of camping, and the equivalent event would be the Cole Half Marathon, which happens the middle weekend of August. And we've got a flat sort of kids football pitch outside the community centre, and everyone camps on that. And it's got the same sort of feeling. But how many could we cope with? Well, quite a few. I think we can get a couple of hundred people onto the dance floor in the community centre in Ancrea. Amazing. I say new, but it's a decade old now. Community centre. So my slight worry, as you would understand, Nash, is who's going to end up having to organise this?
You're the host. It's on you. It's on you. I think you'd be surprised by the amount of people that would take their own initiative and sort it out and get over there. If you put up a date saying book your ferries, the campsite's ready, I think you know as well as I do that you'd have a full weekend and there'd be a lot of fun half marathon, whatever it would be, people taking bikes. What a weekend that would be! It would be an absolute cracker.
It would be, and as Dodier proves, people pour out the cracks to help out, and what you're doing today and what Keith's behind the scenes and all the others that we can't see. It is, as I say, like a small community. Everyone has to do lots of little roles, and the Dodier community is the same. People, in fact, I caught up with a whole load of emails that I knew had been sent, but I'd lost, from people offering to do things for us when sometimes I couldn't find a role for them. Somebody did an interview with Duncan Hodge, because he's doing, in 2 weeks' time, he's doing the Doddy Cup 500.
Yeah.
And Duncan said he was worried about how he was going to get his bike back from Cardiff. And this meant nothing to me, but then a couple of emails came in from people who ran freight services saying, we'll get his bike back from Cardiff. Of course, at that stage, I hadn't heard the interview. I hadn't clue that Hodgie needed his bike back from Cardiff. So Hodgie, if you're listening, someone can bring your bike back from Cardiff. So
yeah, I'm sure those logistics will take care of themselves on the day. Rob, just touch on that. Obviously, the Doddy Cup. It's a heck of a journey you and Mark are going to take on. There's little teams and bubbles of guys and girls getting involved along the way. How daunting is that prospect of the 500-mile ride? You've done it before, but again, you know it's coming in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I'm half of me during an event like this doesn't want to, blur the lines by pointing out in 2 weeks' time we're doing something bigger, but it is massive. It's this twice, but it's outdoors, and outdoors can be an advantage or it can be a disadvantage. And we've done it twice to Murrayfield and then to Twickenham. And in one case we had awful weather and headwinds, and it was absolute. It was a hell of a hard. And then one time we had the opposite, and we had high pressure and tailwinds right up until we got to the Scottish border. And then if anyone remembers the Calcutta Cup 2 years ago and the awful weather that it was played in, well, we just missed that, but we got blown up by it. So it all depends on the weather to a degree. And the other key thing is, in any team, if you're trying to do the whole thing, which obviously the core team are aiming to do that, is not to be the weakest rider, because the weakest rider dies a million deaths, while the other people can just coast slightly quicker than he is, or she. And so I am at the moment cycling, as I said, with Steve Romans, who's going to be the doctor on that ride, but he's also riding it with us, and he's supported us before, so he's a hell of a strong rider as well. So any medical issues will be coming up behind. We've obviously got 25 relay teams doing it in parallel with us, jumping from rugby club stop to rugby club stop, and the fundraising has been, it's 2 weeks away, and I think we've already raised about 115,000. There's a couple of Welsh teams in it, and they've been doing a roaring trade. So some great fundraising out there. But as I say, it's almost a sin to concentrate on that in 2 weeks' time when so many people are doing this amazing thing today. And well done, everyone that's out there, got up early and sweating away. My regular forays, and many people out there will know, I keep mentioning Zwift just because I'm cycling in it, but twice a week we've been doing the Chris Hoy rides, and giving you some ammo for when you talk to him later, Nashi. The first, the first year he did, he must have done about 12 rides, 15 rides for us last year, but he never you never saw the competitive Sir Chris. He just coasted along, chatted away, and let anyone that wanted to race go racing at the end. But this year, on the Wednesday rides, he's been a bit spicier, and it is slightly humbling to be challenged to a sprint by Chris Hoy, and his figures are off the scale, and they literally are off the scale, because your standard power meter on a watt bike or a turbo doesn't go beyond 2,000 watts, and he always hits 2,000 watts, and it's actually been a real thrill for everyone riding with him that's been nearby him when he puts the gas down, because he literally shoots past like a racing driver rather than a cyclist. And it's just a privilege just to witness the sheer power the man can put down, even though he's a racing driver now, not a cyclist anymore, allegedly. So you can ask him about his peak wattage when you talk to him in 8 hours' time.
I will. I'll bring that up. There's tons to chat to Sir Chris about, but it's funny that obviously that competitive spirit, you see that. Mark, what are you like with competitiveness? Because obviously a lot of the stuff you've done is solo. You're challenging yourself. You take yourself on. You take on your own mind, your body. What was it like? Did you get a bit competitive in Spain last week, trying to keep up with the youngsters? And what are you like in that environment?
I mean, the answer is yes. I mean, I'm a kid that never grew up. I've been inspired by the Guinness Book of Records since I was a 10-year-old, and the idea of doing something that nobody else has done before has been a constant in my career. But I've never been massively competitive against other people, and I find that quite interesting. And I think it stems from there was 2 professional athletes from my high school year, Alistair Dickinson, who was a prop forward in Scotland, and myself. And I think my career's to the surprise of a lot of my schoolmates, because I was not a competitive kid at school. Everything I did at school was outside of the playing field and the playground. It was horse riding, bike riding, skiing. It certainly wasn't head-to-head competitive sport. And because I never learned that sort of head-to-head competition, I've always weirdly shied away from it. When people challenge me, I'm still that kid that doesn't enjoy racing others. But clearly, I've always been trying to race myself and smash world records. And I decided last year to test myself, take myself out of my comfort zone and actually enter a race, which might sound odd to people having spent 15 years doing major expeditions, but I entered GB Duro, which is a 2,000 kilometre gravel race, mainly off-road, the length of the UK. Amazing route through deepest, darkest Wales, up through the Yorkshire Dales, up through the Highlands of Scotland. 250 people applied to take part in this race. Only 60 start places, so it was hard to even get in. And out of the 60 who started, only 14 completed the race. So I was looking around me at Land's End at all these athletes, and even though I've done what I've done, I still found it very intimidating, that head-to-head competition. But you realise on a race like that, it's such a battle of attrition. The only person you're really racing is yourself. To finish that race or to do anything on the ultra endurance stage, the psychology, the nutrition, the ability to not break down, not injure, is absolutely key. So, of course, there's a leaderboard and there's a field, but it is interesting. And this week out in Spain, there's no 2 ways about it. I was never going to beat these guys. My task was to keep up with them and not be dropped. My entire life has been this pace, doing massive rides. So when you're suddenly with these 65 kilo riders, aged in their mid-20s, who are just speed merchants, but not just that, their bike handling. They're so used to being in the pack, riding wheel to wheel. You know, at times we were doing technical descents going up to, 80 kilometers an hour. And it's a thrill, it's an absolute thrill, but, I was never going to make a break on these guys. My task was to simply hold my own and not get dropped. Because as Rob alludes to, if you can hold the wheel and stay in the pack, it's a lot easier if you're on your own. Psychologically, and the aerodynamics mean that it's twice as hard to get back in the game. So it was amazing being a part of, and I think that's why cycling is so unique, because it is a solo endeavor, and yet when you are riding with pals or with a club or with a race team like that, there are economies of scale, there is the efficiencies of the group, but nobody else can ride your bike for you. I know, Nash, you grew up in the rugby game, like so many on this ride, and ultimately you can smash it out of the park and have the best game of your life, but the team still loses. And what I quite like about the bike is, if you don't perform, you look in the mirror and you know that you're never going to, blame your team around you. There is a team element to a point, but the only person you're really racing is yourself. So that sense of competition and figuring out your personal best is deeply personal. I mean, sport is just such a wonderful thing for, pushing yourself and figuring out what you're capable of and creating positive memories. But I've always been drawn to solo sports, endurance sports, maybe because I was, grew up on a farm, homeschooled, those formative years. I wish I had that rugby experience in a more positive sense, but my sort of sense of competition, because it just gave me that ability to, still figure out that personal best without feeling like I was trying to beat anyone else per se.
I think, Nashi, this whole thing of endurance cyclists, particularly endurance athletes, full stop, has been a bit of an eye-opener for me over the last 3 years since Mark and I first did one of the rides for the match ball. And that the rides for the match ball, one person we haven't mentioned, who I know is here somewhere, is Russ Kessley, who kind of inspired the whole thing. And I've been introduced to quite a few people from the extreme world of cycling and watch footage of them and traces on Strava of them doing what on the face of it are completely pointless, mindless, repetitive trips up and down a mountain or whatever the challenge that has been set. But it is that great human characteristic of, why are we climbing the mountain? Because it's there. And if it's not there, then let's invent a virtual mountain, or let's set another challenge. Let's try and get a mile of jumping into the sea. But Russ decided that he'd cycle up to, from Twickenham up to Murrayfield 4 years ago, I think. And he did it on his own and turned up and Dodie met him. And it was, I was told, yeah, Dodie can't come along just then because he's got to meet some guy that's just cycled up all the way up from Twickenham. And it was like, what? Is it taking him a week? No, it's only taking him 2 days. So I'm sure you're there, Russ, out there. Can you see him?
Rob, Russ is ready. Russ, tell us all about it.
Hi, Rob. Hi, Rob. Hi, Nashi.
How are you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm with Go on.
It was an early start this morning. I've got to get it done. So go to the market with the missus.
Duty calls.
Apparently next week we've got a big ride on.
Rob, I muted
Apparently
you.
next week there's a ride on.
Sorry, I'm back. I've been told by the host that I seem to have muted myself. Next week, 2 weeks' time.
Well, I'm riding up to see you guys, and I'm riding back down.
Oh God, this is indicative of the level of madness that we have to deal with. Is that Russ is cycling up to Murrayfield to cycle back down to Cardiff. So originally there was a potential plan for us to cycle round the Scottish rugby clubs, the Doddy strongholds in the week leading up to cycling down to Cardiff, but it's just proved I've been too busy to do that. So Russ has thought, oh, 500 isn't enough. I better cycle up. So where are you setting off from, Russ?
From home in southeast London.
Yeah.
And we're going to hopefully follow, depending on the weather, we'll follow the GB Duo ride.
Yeah, because cycling on tarmac would be too easy, wouldn't it?
Well, it's not the exact GB Duo, it's the route to net zero, so it's a little bit exposed.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah. And how many miles is that ride up?
Just over 500.
And what day are you setting off?
Well, I think I'm going to have to set off on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I expect it'll take 3 days. It's a bit tough.
Yes.
I don't like hills.
Well, we've got lots of hills to come to on the way back down, so
yeah,
take it steady.
They're not steep hills, though.
Yeah.
Russ,
yeah, I know this.
Enough from Rob at the moment. Russ, what's your background? What's the history in cycling? Because it's easy. We know that Rob Wainwright attracts crazy people.
Yeah.
But what's your background, and how did you get to become the guy that sort of set this up? That I'll just cycle to Scotland, and then we'll go back down the road. And now it's become bigger than probably you, Rob, Mark thought it would ever become. What's the background?
Well, to answer your last bit of the question, it's become what it has because of Rob and Mark and the Doddy charity. So one man on his own doing something stupid generally attracts more stupid men doing more things more stupid. So it's just kind of grown from there. So, without Rob and Mark, this couldn't have got to where it is.
Yeah.
But for my riding, I've only been riding, crikey, 6 years now. So I had a tumour 6 years ago, and I'm lucky to be here. Really, it was something called a pheochromocytoma, and when it goes off, you don't really know about it, but you know about it when it goes off, but you don't know it's in the background. So when it went off, I was on holiday with my daughter down in Cornwall, and my resting heart rate, which is normally about 60, went up to 165, and my resting blood pressure was 250 over 120. So Rob's the doctor, and he'll tell you what to do when you have a blood pressure, resting blood pressure and heart rate that level. Generally, go and lie down, stay still. So I survived that. They took it out. I was very lucky, and I just started riding to try and get healthy, stay healthy.
And the rest is history. You're still here, and now you're doing incredible things. Well, good on you.
Well,
good on you.
You know, watching Dave Van Zee do what he does, and Doddy doing what he does. You know, it's amazing. I'm a physio by trade, so I work with a lot of people who have neurological problems and kind of palliative issues. So to be able to help them and try and help others to do something. If we have to do something silly, we do something silly.
Yeah, there's enough crazies involved in Doddy Aid to sort of jump on that bandwagon with you. Now, tell us that there'll be a lot of people on this journey today that are going to have sore legs and bums and backs tomorrow. What's your advice tomorrow? Is it cold water, jump in the sea, get in the river, or what will you be doing tomorrow to sort of recover the body from the physio background?
The crazy part of me would say go and jump in the cold sea, or make sure you do it safely. But make sure you eat afterwards every 15 minutes and you're eating the right food. Wear compression tights if you got them. Take it easy and, you know, cool down. Don't be hard on yourself. So,
but Russ, not forgetting the Chris Hoy 10 o'clock Zwift ride, 50 kilometers. Warm down.
Yeah, the warm down at 2.5 watts per kilo and then 2,000 watts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slow down for Chris, shall we? Does he know about my cat yet?
No, he doesn't. He still doesn't know about your cat. I will explain it to you. You can explain it to him yourself later on
When's
today.
he coming online? When's he online?
3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, Sir Chris Hoy's on.
Okay, well, he said he's only going to cycle past and away for the Dolly 500. And I've offered him my defective cat if he comes a little bit further. He's a nice cat.
One has to point out.
He is defective.
One has to point out that when this offer was made, Chris was on the other end of a line, but busy with other things, so he's never actually seen the offer. But every time we go on a ride with him, twice a week, Russ asks him about the cat, and he must be wondering why this nutter keeps asking him about a cat, which he knows nothing about. So you can put it straight at 3 p.m., Russ.
Okay. Assuming I'm allowed out to play at that point by the wife. I think I might have to jump off a little bit earlier.
Okay, Russ. Well, Russ, thank you for joining us. Thank you for everything you do for the charity. I'll let you go just now. We're just waiting on Alan Murkiston. Hopefully he joins us pretty soon. I'd love to hear, guys, get in touch on the chat where you're coming from, especially if you're abroad, if you're not in the UK. How far is this reaching at the moment? Let's reach out. And I just want to check in with Mika and the team. Where's Mika? You said that there was a smell of smoke burning. Something was going wrong earlier. Are you guys okay? Where are you? So many people. We're up to 88 people now on the Zoom call, putting in miles and getting after it. But is Mika and the team? They've maybe fallen off the call at the moment. Where else? Caleb, are you still with us? Where's the young man, Caleb? Let's see. There he is. How are you? How are we doing? Oh, Mum's on the bike now. Mum's putting the miles in.
Yes.
How are we doing, guys? Are you doing okay?
Yes.
It's
30 kilometers, 30 miles down.
50 miles down. Well done. That's a great effort, a great shift so far. Sorry, what was that?
I was just going to say, my husband, Ali, he's going to be involved in it too. So he's doing 60 miles. He only learned to ride a bike as an adult. So I spent many times around Centre Parks holding him up like a kid and then falling down and having a good laugh.
You'll appreciate you telling that story.
No, he's still in bed just now, so he doesn't know.
You'll be coming on for a shift later. Well done, guys. Keep going. And Caleb, everyone knows your story now of what you've done at school at Boroughmuir and your love of rugby and cycling. Keep going, young man, okay?
Yes. Speak to you soon.
Good on you. Speak to you later. Who else have we got? Where's Carl? Is Carl there? He was the first man on that I spoke to this morning. There he is. How are you? You were my first conversation this morning as everyone was just starting to log on.
Yeah,
how are you?
I've not had a great time actually. Due to some operator error, I think it might have been, and a Wi-Fi dropout, I got kicked back to Richmond. So I'm back in the desert, but my ride reset, so it's in 2 parts. But never mind.
You're okay. You're still with us. Keep going. It's great to speak to you. Moving on, I see Simon Hill has got a teammate. Is that a tandem we're on now, Simon?
Certainly is. This is Sadie.
Hi, Sadie. How are you?
Good.
How many miles has your dad done so far?
We're sitting at 50.9k.
50.9.
Suddenly the bike feels much heavier.
Sadie, are you proud of your dad, what he's doing? Simon, good effort. How long do you think she'll stick around for? What's been the incentive to get her through?
This is already our second stint.
Second stint, brilliant. Brilliant. We want to see that, guys.
Just keeps insisting that I beat the person in front of me, but they're going much faster.
By all means, throughout the day, guys, if you have kids in the house, whatever, my boys are going to be running in and waving at Stuart Hogg when he's on and all these sorts of things. The more kids, the merrier. Get people involved. Let's hear the stories when we get a chance. We do have structure throughout the day of scheduled interviews and conversations, and I'm just waiting for Alan Murkiston to join the conversation for some chat on nutrition and performance. But so far, so good. 88 riders on. Hello to everybody watching live across social media. If you can, if you've just tuned in, if you've not been involved, you don't know what we're doing. This is Doddy Aid. This is World in a Day. We're raising funds for the My Name is Doddy Foundation, the battle against MND. And if you are watching in and you think, what is this that's going on? This is the community. This is what Doddy Aid is. This is for MND. This is an incredible event. Started by, we met Russ there, we've got Mark Beaumont, we've got Rob Wainwright, and a huge amount of incredible people that are going to put in 240 miles today, with other folks joining in throughout the day to raise funds, to cycle miles, and just to create awareness for this incredible charity. So thank you. Well done to everybody for being here so far, getting up early on the early shift. There's so much going on throughout the day, as I just scramble to just keep people going on to mute. So if you are online, just make sure you're always on mute. We don't want too much echo across the call, especially later on when we have the interviews and guests with us. So bear with me.
I was going to say, for Sadie doing some miles there, have you got your own saddle? Are you sitting on the bike or are you sitting on the top tube?
He's sitting on the top tube.
Wow.
So, and that's why it's our second stint.
That must be really comfy.
Is it comfy, Sid?
You are tough. Yeah. I'm impressed.
Good breakfast, still in the jammies.
You're still smiling. Oh, here comes Willa. Morning, Willa. Morning.
Morning. Sorry, I'm just chasing. Alan is not on.
I like the sound of that dropping a mile for Doddy, Nashi. That sounds good.
Dropping a mile, yes, that would be a bit different. I think that'll probably get quite a lot of interest when we announce that. Or we have announced it, haven't we? We've told people. Everyone knows we're going to do it, so it's just the way how we structure it.
True. Everywhere
You promised you'd do it before the end of Doddy Aid. Your jump, Nashi. You still good for that?
Yes, I'll do my jump. It's more getting the community together, Rob. I'll do my jump. It's a place. It's an area just at the end of if anyone knows North Berwick, past the Glen Golf Club. When you get the tide right, it's a good old jump. And as I did a wee video last week, Rob was straight on saying it would have been a better video if you just jumped off it.
It's a very dramatic piece of coastline, isn't it? I've never been out there.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, when you next time you're in town, we'll get you down, and we'll chuck you off it.
well, I'm next in town in a week's time, Nashi. So
yeah,
what are you doing this time next week?
Chucking you off cliff edges, Mark. I've got a question. Mark, I've got a question here. What advice do you have for the hand and arm position on the long rides?
I mean, you've got to mix it up. So, I mean, if you don't have tri-bars, you'll see I'm out on the skis here. Not everyone will have this setup. But for ultra endurance, people always think this is for aero. It's not. It's to get weight off my hands. So when you're in the around the world effort, you're going 16 hours a day. This is a lot more of a neutral position than that. But clearly not everyone's got tri-bars on the bike. But the issue with this position is, as you get tired, you get quite A-frame. This is what I call A-frame. The shoulders go up, your upper body gets very locked. When that happens, you can't get the body separation between the upper body and the lower body. So to keep a nice high cadence, 80, 90 revs a minute, it's important that the upper body is nice and neutral, and the input for that is your elbows. So if you drop your elbows, your shoulders immediately drop. Your upper body is more neutral and the legs can spin independently. If you get A-frames like that, your cadence drops because the whole thing's locked up. And the other thing, a lot of nerves meet at the base of the thumb there. The ulnar nerve comes down here, back around the back of the elbow, and up into the shoulder. So if you hammer this area on the lugs all day long, you end up with a lot of tightness in the back of the shoulder and pins and needles in the fingers. So I don't know if you can see this, but I ride a lot of the time with my fingers sort of hooked behind the lugs rather than sort of being in like that. Because if you ride like that and you're just going for the brakes when you need them, which you don't on the turbo, it means that you're not battering those sensitive nerves in the sort of the palm of your hand. So moving from there to there, you can. It just stops the upper body getting battered all day long.
I hope that helps. And now I believe Alan Murkiston is in the Zoom. Alan, if you're there, just come off mute and say hello.
Good morning. Have you got me?
Good morning. Where are you? What's your Zoom?
Do you know what? It might be under Rafa Clubhouse. Is it under Rafa?
Oh, there you are. I've got you. Here you are. How are you? Good morning.
I'm very well. I'm very well indeed. I'm currently working in Girona at the moment. So yeah, I'm not on a turbo somewhere, unfortunately.
No, neither am I. And it's one of these things that I don't know. My guilt. We're here. You're here to get the riders' minds off off what they're doing, off what their legs are going through, the pain, the endurance, the days and the hours that they've got ahead of them. Now, I've built you up a little bit because there's a few people thinking, I've got some fruit, I've got some water, I've got some bits and pieces. How would you look at this event? 240 miles on Zoom. We've got 90 riders involved at the moment, and there'll be people dipping in and out throughout the day. What sort of prep, what should they be thinking about today to get through the miles?
Well, I did it last year when we did it early part of lockdown. I went on for a chat for one of the first ones. I think Mark did four date weeks in a row. And I thought, I can do this, no problem. So I came on to do 240 miles and I time trial. So I used my time trial bike, and much as Mark was just talking about, just so you could change the position a lot more. And I had a very evangelical plan about what I was going to eat, and I had it all laid out on the side. And that went okay for about the first 5 hours. And then I just got hungry. So I think, have a plan for sure about what you're going to eat. I always recommend that try to do something every 20 minutes. So whether it's take a drink or take a snack and just keep going, because the problem with doing these long events is you can get very much lost in the moment, and you might be an hour before you eat or you drink. And I think it's just really important to do something little and often. And then in the latter stages, I call latter stages after halfway. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting calories in. So if you've got this beautiful plan that you're going to have some real food, some steamed chicken or some beautiful banana bread or something, and you don't fancy it, sometimes it's just a matter of getting calories down your neck. So yeah, the main thing, every 20 minutes, drink or eat something. And then at some point, you're going to hit the wall that you don't want sugary food anymore. And then maybe it's just a matter of getting the calories in. Having, worked with athletes of all abilities across huge ranges, I think sometimes you've just got to recognize it's hugely individual. And you've got to find out what works for you. If you look at ultra endurance, there's very little research done on it. Do you know what I mean? And if you look at certain athletes, they're just like dustbins. They can literally eat anything, just anything. So yeah, just little and often would be the thing. And then don't be too precious about what you're eating in the latter stages. Just get the calories in.
And Alan, you mentioned there your involvement with endurance. Take us back here. How did you find your way into the sporting world with the chef background and food being such an important part of your life?
I was a half decent runner as a young lad. I did quite a number of sports reasonably well. I ran for Scotland when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and then worked in restaurants and a long time, did 25 years working in Michelin star restaurants. And then I was running a fairly big business, and it all went horribly wrong about 2013. And I was left at the point of being middle-aged with lots of knowledge and unemployable. I think some of the best people out there are unemployable, and you're certainly, when you run your own business, it's very difficult to work for somebody else. And so I had all this food knowledge and I had an interest in sport. So I recognized there was a huge gulf between the sports scientists, the nerds, the ones that will tell you about grams and macros. And what I found was, if you ever spoke to any dietitians or nutritionists, I would say 95% of them created more problems for athletes than actual solutions. So if you say to, recreational athlete that's working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, for example, you need 1.2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. What does that look like in Tesco's after work? What does that look like in a weekend when you're trying to do the shop with the kids? So it was just a matter of, I found myself at a loose end with a load of food knowledge and wanted to try and make food just realistic, to just try and take away the riddles and just make so that on easy days, this is what you want to eat. On harder days, increase your carbohydrate load and just use that food knowledge, which I had, really, as opposed to giving people numbers. Numbers don't really work for most people.
That is such an important thing that you've just said there about the way that the everyday man and woman, we get told you should have this, you should have that amount of protein, that amount of carbs, and then you're in Tesco's or Asda, wherever you might be, and you're thinking, what the hell? You're trying to read the back of the pack.
It doesn't work. And the thing is as well, you've got, if you took, say, 10 athletes that are between 65 and 75 kilos, they'd all have a different resting metabolic rate, which is basically the base amount of calories they need to survive. They'd all have different goals, the amount of sleep you're doing, and also if you look at it, I know as an older athlete, I turned 50 last year. I know that's difficult to believe looking at such a fine specimen, but like your body slows down, your recovery is so much less. So a 25-year-old athlete versus a 50-year-old athlete is completely different. And it's a hugely individual thing. And if you also think about it as well, mate, like most of us aren't cooking on our own. So what I've done is I always say when I'm developing recipes, I work with the most challenging demographic you can get, teenage girls and Olympians. So by the time we send a recipe out, we've worked with either world-class athletes. You say, like, does this work for me from a sporting perspective? And then also, does it work for me within the context of feeding my girls and my partner? We'll all sit around the table, and I've got 2 teenage daughters, but I've also got a partner who trains as well, but she does completely different training from me. So you imagine if we're all eating 4 different meals, again, that doesn't work. So for example, what we'll do is we'll have family meals, and depending on what I'll do, I'll even have more carbs at lunch, or I'll have a slightly more carby breakfast, or for example, I just might have an extra portion of rice. And like today's a good example. I had a hard ride yesterday. I did 5 hours with intervals, and all I did was every time I got to a hill, I just pressed on. And today I'm doing recovery ride. I'm just going to do, just literally go out, do 3 hours, just easy, just getting some picture. So breakfast today is a protein yogurt. I'm having protein yogurt, and that's it. I'm gonna have protein yogurt and a banana. I don't need a shitload of carbs today, because basically I'm just going out to just ride and get some fresh air. Whereas tomorrow I'm going out with a group, and it's a hard group. Like literally, it's 4 guys who are all are strong. So I know tomorrow morning I'll have cereal, I'll have a banana, I'll have a carbohydrate drink, I'll have 80 grams of carbs per hour on the bike. And I know I'm going to go out fully loaded, because tomorrow's going to be hard. So I think it's also a matter of recognizing what training you're doing, and maybe what you did yesterday and what you're doing tomorrow. I always look at it in 3-day chunks, because I'm a little bit tired after yesterday, but I don't need 80 grams of carbs today. It's going to be a matter of just a bit more protein and just eat well, as in lots of fruit, lots of veg, lots of salads, and then maybe have a carbohydrate based meal tonight with an eye on tomorrow.
Yeah, and tell us, what sort of camps have you been involved in before? Is there Olympians or track athletes, things like that, that you've been part of that we would be familiar with?
Yeah, I've been really lucky. I did 3 years with British Cycling, and that was covering major events and camps, and was hugely fortunate. I felt it was an opportunity of a lifetime, really, that you got to travel. So we did with say chef services, predominantly up podium athletes. That's where the real sort of focus is. So anybody that's going to win World Olympic medals. So it'll be people who win medals basically. So we've done camps in many camps. The endurance squad were based out in Portugal for a number of years. So you'd go out and you do a 10-day camp and you buy everything locally. Been to Australia a couple of times, been to America. Yeah, been all over the place. And what it's a matter of doing is, again, working with the coaches, looking at the load, then looking at the athletes and what the athletes' goals are. So you might have within a group of, say, 6 to 8 athletes, you might have an athlete that needs to maintain weight. You might have athletes that are maybe carrying, for want of a better word, a little bit of timber. And then you've got athletes that might need to put on a bit of weight. So it's a matter of working with a coach and looking at the load of the athlete. So again, the beauty about working with elite sport is you can learn a hell of a lot from that. And the one sort of takeaway I'd always say is that, people get caught up with the detail. I want to do this, I want to do that. And at the end of the day, if you look at an Olympic athlete or any world-class athlete, they eat a really balanced diet. They eat fruit, veg, they eat meat, they eat fish, they have dairy. But what they do is they actually make sure that the training load and the food load are very closely aligned. So they're not overeating when they're doing easy days, and they're not under-eating, particularly under-eating when they're doing hard stuff. And that's the main thing, because folk, I'm going to go keto, or I'm going to go vegetarian or vegan or this or that. And they jump on some niche marketing campaign and think, right, this is going to make me a better athlete. And it doesn't work. All eat everything. Within the whole program of British Cycling, there's one athlete who's vegetarian, and she's vegetarian for ethical reasons because she trained as a vet. And she likes animals in a slightly different way to I like in animals. She likes to look after them. So I think the main thing you learn from that is load and food intake are aligned, and that doesn't matter who you are. And all right, there's the odd quirk around races. Probably one of my favorite stories around races is, people, I think it's really important that people will have a strategy around the key event. And so often you'll hear folk will go, oh yeah, I trained really well. And then they go to an event, and by the time they get to the event, they've invested heavily. When I say investment, they'll have invested physically, financially, and emotionally in an event, and then it doesn't come off for them. I trained really well, my numbers were great in training, but I was rubbish on the day. And so often what happens is they'll go and stay in a hotel, or they'll go and stay at a friend's house, and they'll eat something that's unusual to them. And that just doesn't make any sense. It would be well like me saying to you guys, right, you've trained for this event, you've done 6 months of the hard grind, and then all of a sudden the night before, somebody's giving you a new bike. You've never ridden it before. It's too small for you and the saddle's too low. Would you use it? And the answer is no, but you'll do that with food. So I think it's really important to get a protocol before a race that works for you. And probably the best example ever of that is Innsbruck, the World Championships for Innsbruck. Is it 4 years ago? And was it 3 years ago? It doesn't matter when it was, but it was in Innsbruck. And we were looking after the road team in a hotel. And there was a young female rider, 2 women in the junior women's time trial called Pfeiffer Georgie. And Pfeiffer now rides for DSM World Tour team, and she's national champion in the road race. And so I went to the riders, and these are young riders, the first big event. And I said, what do you want for breakfast, ahead of the race tomorrow? And Pfeiffer said, I always go really well off chicken curry. All right, chicken curry? Yeah, we can do that. So everybody's sitting there with porridge or version music, and she's having mildly spiced chicken and rice at 5 o'clock in the morning. And she came fourth, and she got a World Tour contract. And it was so funny because you had all the senior men's team who it was essentially Ineos or Sky, I think it was at the time. They were going, does Pfeiffer have chicken curry? I went, yeah, she did. And they were all like blown away because they're all there with white rice or porridge or whatever, but she found what worked for her and made her feel comfortable, and she ate it. And then, you know, if you look at some athletes will get really nervous before a major event and they might just have a smoothie. But again, the macros of protein and carbohydrate are probably identical, but it's finding out what works for you, really. So I think that's something, you know, if you spoke to 100 athletes, you'd probably get 100 different answers with regards to what works for them. So I think recognize you're an individual is probably the most important thing, and then make sure that you look at the demands of the event. It's a bit like if you were driving from Edinburgh to London, you'd never set off with a quarter of a tank of fuel. But if you were going from Edinburgh to Glasgow, you could probably do it with, you know, a quarter of a tank. It's the same kind of mentality with your event. Look at what you're doing, and then look at how much fuel you need to do, and practice with it.
That's it. What about the stories of Usain Bolt and chicken nuggets? That's a
Well, if
similar
you
thing.
think about it, that probably makes absolute sense. So where was Usain Bolt when the chicken nugget story came out? He was in Beijing. So if you're in Asia, and if you're in a food hall in Asia where you've got thousands of hands going on food, the potential risk is huge. So Usain Bolt, he doesn't need huge amounts of carbohydrate. His training's in the bank. So he wanted sterile protein. So there's probably nothing more sterile than taking protein and putting it in a fryer at 190 degrees. The risk involved in that is minimal. So I would say that that's probably pretty good, because he could get carbohydrate in a drink, you know, so he could use a sachet of carb drink or a banana or whatever. So if all he wants is a bit of protein, then that probably absolutely makes sense. So I wouldn't be surprised. Again, if you think about it, you go to a food hall or an event, and I've seen it myself, you know, you go into hotels and you've got hundreds of pairs of hands that potentially could be on your food. And the Usain Bolt chicken nugget thing makes sense to me. He's de-risked it. Again, another interesting one. We, back in 2014, 2015, we worked with a triathlete called Gwen Jorgensen, who was Rio Olympic triathlon champion, and she had the most dominant winning streak of any athlete in triathlon history. It's unlikely to happen again. She was unbeaten for years. And what we did with them was her husband, Pat, used to look after her. He was her soigneur, her mechanic, her chef, her confidant. He did everything for her. And when they went to events, they developed a strategy that they would take a rice cooker with them. And 3 days before any race, Gwen was on the rice cooker diet. So she'd have porridge in the morning, cooked in the rice cooker. She'd either have pasta or rice for lunch, cooked in the rice cooker, and the same for dinner. So what would happen is her competitors would either be at the supermarket or they'd be at the generic hotel buffet with people breathing all over the food. This is obviously pre-COVID days where everybody was touching everything and breathing on it. Standing up, she was in her hotel room with her feet up, having a food that they practice with. And it was, again, I'm not suggesting that would work for everybody, but they found a strategy that worked for her. So I think you've got to de-risk it as much as humanly possible, and you know, take away. You got to think as well. If you're in a hotel, they've got no idea how important your event is to you, and you know, you're just another face in the crowd. So I would always prefer to do my own food or stay in an Airbnb. And when you can't do that, probably take the safest option. You know, something they can't kill you with. But yeah, I 100% believe that Usain Bolt did chicken nuggets.
It's a great story, and it worked. Whatever he did, it worked. You mentioned earlier about sort of the vegan diet, keto, and things like that. Is that a challenge when an athlete that's promising, that's been on a diet like that for maybe a long time, and then they make it onto the big stage?
They generally don't. To be honest, we've had this conversation on numerous occasions, and you know, I understand it, and you know what? If you look at it, and it's a really, really, really hot topic, because you can watch things like Game Changers or Seaspiracy, and all right, what you've got to remember are these are documentaries, and if you even have assumed 25% of what they're telling you is correct, because you know it's the one to make it interesting. The ethical argument around a plant-based diet is a no-brainer. All right, ethically, it's, you know, you can't argue with it. The environmental impact of it, again, you cannot argue with the stats do not lie with regards to emissions and all that stuff that goes around it, and that's not why we're here today. That's a no-brainer. But purely from a performance perspective, what you've got to think of is, and I would say you can use Google, you can do it today when you're online, find me 10 world-class athletes who are vegan. And when I mean world-class, I mean world Olympic champion or medalist at any endurance sport you like. And if we classify endurance as anything from 1500 meters to ultra, and an ultra, there's the odd anomaly that you've got Scott Jurek, who's an elite athlete, who's an ultra runner, who is plant-based. But there isn't 10. And the reason there isn't 10 is because there's no scientific proof facts that's actually going to say if you want to become a world-class athlete. Now, most people watching this will not be wanting to win the Olympics or go to the World Championships, but mass will always follow class, and we all learn from elite athletes. The other thing you've got to think about as well is most elite sports people are on the road for 150 to 200 days a year. So you can have this evangelical plan that you're at home, and I've done it. I did it for a couple of months, and I've got at home every nut, seed, grain, pulse known to man. So I can do it at home. But as soon as you travel, you imagine going to a Belgian hotel or a French hotel. Like if you're a vegan in France, they give you omelets and pasta. Like they would give you an omelet. They haven't got a clue, or they don't care. And the chances of you having a nutritionally balanced meal whilst traveling or competing are almost nil. It's almost impossible to do. So as a performance athlete, you would be worrying more about your food than your actual performance. And I've read there's been quite a number of World Tour cyclists, I think Michael Woods and Ellen van Dijk. Ellen van Dijk's a particular anomaly for me. So Ellen van Dijk's a Dutch cyclist who rides for Trek. Current, she world time trial champion. Is she world time trial champion? Yeah, she's world time trial champion. I read something that she was vegan. She'd gone vegan this year. I will be really interested to see if she can pull that off this season when she's doing, first of all, the Women's Tour de France, and secondly, the Women's Giro Rosa, and traveling all over the place, going to I would be very interested to see if that continues. So the exclusion diet, it's something you can do, but I just would question why. You know, if it's ethical or environmental, do it. Crack on, fill your boots. You know, we don't need to have that debate. But if it's purely around performance and you're traveling, you've got to ask yourself the question, you know, is this going to help you deliver the best performance you can for yourself? So it's a really hard one, because I get the ethics side of it, but it's really difficult to do when you're traveling. And again, people always talk about, I want to lose weight and I'm going to do this diet to lose weight or whatever. Do you know what? Losing weight is all about creating a deficit. That's all it is. It's, you know, and when I always put on, I always carry a bit of winter timber. I can fluctuate by about 5 to 8 kilos in the winter. And when I want to lean back up, all I do is I use My Fitness Pal, which is a free app, get it to speak to your training peaks. And bear in mind, I'm not techie. These are two free bits of tech, and use a 500 calorie a day deficit. And that's just the way to do it. And I don't exclude any food groups. I just eat less crap and then make better choices. And, you know, again, a good example of that would be if you were doing, say, a beautiful red lentil root vegetable curry, you know, that's something, you know, that I eat quite a lot at home. A load of root veg, red lentils, bit of rice. You know, if you look at that, if you say made a curry, if you make a curry up and you use tinned tomatoes as the base, tinned tomatoes have 60 calories in a 440 gram tin, so a standard tin. If you use light coconut milk, that's got 330 calories. And if you use full fat coconut milk, it's got 600 plus calories. So the impact of making the right choice is huge. So the actual portion, so say you were sat down for a meal and you had 75 grams dry weight of rice and a portion of curry. If that was a tomato-based curry versus a full fat coconut milk curry, the implications on that actual physical meal could be 400 calories difference. That's huge. That's massive. So what you got to think of is, if you've got an easy day, use tomato as your base. If you've got, you know, if you're doing intervals or you're doing something that's maybe a couple hours, it's got some grippy hills in it, use light coconut milk. And if you're doing the madness, if you're doing, say, some real long staff, or you're doing something that's stressing your system, you want to get the calories in without volume, then use full fat. It's something as simple as that. Or, you know, just thinking, in the morning, the difference between having a massive bowl of porridge with a tablespoon of nut butter, a load of maple syrup, chopped banana on there and nuts, versus having, say, something like a birch muesli. That again, on paper, it's just oats and a bit of fat and a bit of protein, but the difference again could be 400 calories versus 800 calories. And between Christmas and New Year, I did a block. It's nothing compared to the sort of craziness that Mark does, but I did a festive thousands. I did 1,000K between Christmas and New Year. Did like 5 hours a day, and I was laughing because I was thinking 5 hours a day versus 240 hours. 240 miles is chicken feed. But what happened with that was I just made sure that I had a very, very nutritionally dense, calorific breakfast, but not too much volume, because after 3 or 4 or 5 days, you get bloody sick of eating. So I was just making sure I had enough calories in as small a portion as possible, just again, not to stress the gut. So yeah, the long-winded waffle was create a deficit by reducing a little bit of everything and don't eat as much crap, and then try and get a balanced diet. But if ethics are important to you, then do it. But do not think for a second that having any form of exclusion diet, whether that's plant-based or ketogenic or whatever the hell else is trendy at the moment, is going to make you a better athlete, because there's no real science or proof behind that.
So speaking of trends, and see where you take this one, what are your views on the carnivore diet?
Carnivore diet. Well, what you got to look at is a carnivore diet. You just eat. Is that like a caveman diet? We just eat stuff that our ancestors. Again, what you got to look at is, if you look at a scale of 1 to 7 on training, so a lot of training zones would be level 1 is conversational pace, very, very easy, and level 7 is maximum. If you go above level 2 riding, which, you're going to be requiring carbohydrate in there. So you've got to think about, using grains and seeds and nuts and everything else is fine. It's all about balance. If you have too much meat, man, it just weighs heavy on you. And the one thing, if you watch any of the stuff that's out there about the environment and everything else, the main thing I've found is I'm probably having 2 meat-free days a week, and I'm trying to buy better quality meat, and as opposed to going to the supermarket and buying a supermarket chicken. What you've got to think of is that supermarket chickens are 30 days from shell to shelf. There's not a lot of love gone into that, and ethically, it's not really that good. So what I prefer to do is maybe have a couple of fish days, a couple of meat days, a couple of veggie days a week. So carnivore diet.
Tough on the body. Be difficult, tough on the body. I've tried it. I took it on I think I got through 10 days when ketosis started to come in, and I was craving, but the energy levels went, dizziness came on, mood swings. It was real interesting.
It goes back to that balance. It just goes back to that balance. If you think about it, if you are training to be an athlete, and you're training to be an athlete that wants to get less slow, because I've never met a cyclist yet that wants to go slower, or in any form of endurance athlete. We all would like to progress. Carbohydrate is king. And that's all there is to it. And if you're on the bike, you've got to think about it. You're going to have, I use nutritional products, as in commercial nutritional products. I've got stuff lying about. It's on the other table, actually. And I go out with a pocket full of carbs all the time, because that's what I found as an athlete works best for me. And I'm talking about, I eat real food when I'm off the bike, but on the bike, quite often I'll have commercial, all the time I'll have commercial products. My personal favorite is Morton or Science and Sport, are the two that I work with. Just I buy them and I like them, and I'll eat bars on the bike just because I find it easy to do. Again, it's looking at the nature of the event. If you're doing shorter events, solid food is quite hard to digest. It also elevates your core temperature. So again, that's something worth to bear in mind. I'm with you. I love meat, and I love eating meat, and it's something I enjoy doing. But I think if you have too much of it, it's not so good. Balance is the key. A little of everything.
We've got a question that's come in here from Darren Heath, one of the riders. Just to let you know, Alan, at the moment we have got 96 riders live online watching us now. So you're keeping them going. Thank you very much for this. But the question that's come in is, do you think Alex Dowsett could have done anything differently in the hour record attempt to have gone further, or was he simply at the limit of his abilities with the best preparation possible?
Really, really good question. It was a really tough event to do because we only got the green light to go to Mexico. It was tough because Mexico up to country. So actually, it was really, really difficult to get the logistics of getting everything there. And also, you couldn't go through America with the COVID rules. So I got the call. It was just over 2 weeks before. Could we go to Mexico? So the cost, it was all being financed himself. He was juggling that. And also logistics were all being done ourselves as well. And as any, Mark will relate to this, we had to get, I think, did we have 8 bikes to Mexico? And it was myself and the coach that took 8 bikes through Heathrow. We had 14 pieces of luggage and 8 bikes to do. And so by the time we got there was only 5 of us in the group. It was Alex, there was Hutch, who was Alex's coach, Alex's partner, Chanel, who was doing everything. And there was a guy called Mark, who works for Velon, who was doing the media side of it, which again was hugely important to get the message out there, and me. So it was a very small group. So I think the thing, physically, he was in decent shape. The kit he had was as good as he could have used, given sponsors and team requirements. So again, when you're riding for a world tour team, there's certain rules and regulations about what you can and cannot use. And I believe the deal was that he had to, I won't be upsetting anybody saying this, I think he had to use a Factor bike if a Factor bike was available. Bear in mind, Factor don't make a track bike. So the bike had to be made, 2 bikes had to be made for him and signed off by the UCI. So again, that was quite difficult. But he did what he did with equipment as best he could. But I think the main drain was when we were there was just trying to keep the promotion going. The emotional energy it took to do the training, be at altitude, and then also satisfy all the social media requirements and all the sponsor requirements. Because what you don't understand is that I can't remember actually how much it cost. It was a lot of money it cost to do it. I probably know, but I can't remember. It was a 6-figure sum to do it. And all of that was funded through individual sponsors. So what Alex had to do was make sure he provided content, social media content, interaction with brands, etc. And I personally think that probably drained him more than almost anything. So if you think about when Victor Camponex did it, he was there for 2 months, 2 months plus. Victor just kept himself to himself. He had the backing of his team, which I believe was Lotto Soudal at the time. So he had a soigné, he had everything. He was there for 2 months just doing his thing. Whereas Alex flew out straight from Andorra, and literally we went and we carried all our own bags, we paid for it ourselves, we did our own shopping, we did everything. So I think technically, kit-wise, he couldn't have done any more. I think he had the knowledge bank that he had. He didn't have a team of people there, but everybody he had there knew what they were doing. But I believe probably the emotional energy that involved in organising it himself, financing it himself, and actually keeping all the plates spinning with social media and satisfying the sponsors was probably what took the edge off him. To be brutally honest, I think that would be it. Physically, not a lot he could do. And the other thing as well, on the day, we had an okay day for Mexico. We had a day that was comparable with an amazing day in Manchester, and that plays a huge impact. Again, for those that wouldn't know about it, air density and it has a huge impact on what's going on. So if you actually look at it, what's going on with the air has a massive impact on it. And it wasn't a float day, let's put it like this. So he had an okay day for Mexico, but not brilliant. So again, a long-winded answer. He did everything he could, and with the benefit of hindsight, what would probably be done differently was the distractions away from the actual riding of the bike. You would probably offset them, but there was nothing else we could do with the timeline. It was right, we can go at this point. And bearing in mind, you've got to get, it's not like any of us just going down the road and going to our local 10. You've got to get the UCI to sign it off. You've got to get timing keeper. You've got to get timekeepers. I think there was 3 different sets of timekeepers. With UCI, we had to fly 2 people in from Switzerland. We had to have the Mexican Federation and somebody else as well. There was timekeepers all over the place. You have to get all these people to converge in one place at one time. So you've got no wriggle room. So if you feel crap on the day, or the air pressure on the day, you can't. There's nothing you can do because everybody's there. It's like you've got that one chance to do it. So it was an amazing experience, but Jesus, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah, it's when you consider what athletes have got to put in. We see them on the start line, and then you see a result at the end. When you consider everything that goes into planning, the media, the travel, logistics, the diet, the food, the physio, everything.
Even something as simple as eating. We have to de-risk everything because the chances of contamination, firstly in food, is huge, or food poisoning is massive. So, my success for me was we managed to get to 2 weeks and nobody got ill. You know what I mean? That with food, that was a huge bonus. But it was like the amount of stress involved in it was massive, absolutely massive. And the other thing with Alex as well is he never lost his mind. He never got angry or upset or hugely stressed. I would have been a nightmare. You know what I mean? I remember when we walked in the velodrome, it was the day before, and they were putting up all the hoardings, all the branding and everything around there. And man, it was just us as well. It's just you in an empty velodrome with these dudes putting up banners. And it was like, man, you could actually feel it. You could feel tension. And he never, ever lost his composure. And I think that's a huge, measure of the man. And on the Saturday, I think it was about 4 days beforehand, he did a full run through, as in the kit and the skin suits and everything. Like, bearing in mind, the skin suit he had on was a £16,000 skin suit. Wow. 16 grand for a skin suit. And he had 2 of them. So if he put a hole in one, that was it. We had no backup plan. And we were in the velodrome on this Saturday, and it was his dad. So it was like literally you could do a pin drop. And there's this dude in the who was sat watching. And to be honest, watching somebody go round and round in circles in a velodrome is bloody boring, no atmosphere or anything. So Alex went on, he did his warm up, we did the pre-race protocol, all that stuff that you do before the race. And there was this dude just sat up, and the velodrome manager, a lovely guy, really unusual Mexican, because he was like really tall. He said, "Oh, this guy's a cyclist. He had an accident a few years ago and has got a headache. Finished his test. Imagine this is the benchmark. Are you going to break the world hour record or not? Everything was there. It was quite a big pressure event. Alex finished, took his recovery drink, and went straight up and spoke in Spanish to this guy for 45 minutes. Because this guy had given his time to come and watch Alex, Alex then just went and did it. And it's just like, I wouldn't have done that. Yeah, I'd have been worrying about me. And he never lost that being a decent human being, even though the pressure was there. And I think that's something that's really important. That a lot of people, they use their performance or their ego as a reason to be an unpleasant person. And he never did that. He was always real cool. And also on the day of the actual hour record attempt, there was these 2 really cool girls that worked for Tito that were timers. So they'd flown in for Switzerland, and one of them said it was her birthday. Just mentioned it in passing on the day of the hour record, and we came into the velodrome. So imagine we're there, we're driving to the velodrome, and Alex disappeared. Oh shit, where's he gone? Has he lost it? Has he bottled it? Now he'd gone off to wish the girl happy birthday. Imagine.
It says a lot.
Like,
it's a hell of a lot.
Just a decent human being, and he always had time for everybody and everything else. So yeah.
Alan, I'm just we've got Stuart Hogg coming on at 9. Mark, and you guys have a bit of a chat, because we know Mark. Give people that chat on 9 o'clock. Any more advice for the riders today?
Can I also check, actually, before you go, I saw McCoisty looking for the Zoom link. Is he in the house?
I will sort that. I'll sort that. Bear with me.
That's fine. Keep an eye on that one.
I will. I'll check that. You guys have a quick. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Perfect. Alan, remind us what you're doing out in Spain. I've had 4 days out near Benidorm. I wasn't clubbing this time.
No, I certainly wasn't clubbing. No, I'm out here doing a little bit of work. I've got some athletes to work with out here, and I'm currently there's a cyclist who rides for Jumbo Visma called Rowan Dennis, who's a 2-time world time trial champion. I'm actually house sitting for him at the moment, and he arrives back at the weekend. So I'll be training with him next week, which I'm a little bit scared about because I know what kind of numbers he does. And if you ever ride, I think as a cyclist, there's nothing worse than riding with somebody who's too slow or too fast. You know, you need to find your balance. And, you know, I know that Rowan probably does about 100 watts more than me for an hour. So I've got to try and find a little bit of a winning streak. I'm hoping he's going to come back from Australia, jet lagged to hell, and I'll have a few days of riding. So yeah, just for those of you who've never been to Girona, it's a fantastic place because the cycling's great, and there's I think about 100 male World Tour riders are based here, and there's lots of professional athletes here. So it's a cool place. And it's kind of bizarre because, you know, when you go down, you go your local routes and you'll see a lot of people or wave. What you'll see here is you just every time you go out, you just see World Tour riders. But the other thing that's interesting, you will never ever get a Strava king or queen of the mountain here. It's not possible.
One thing that is constantly on my mind, you know, when you train yourself, you know your numbers. But training with the pros this week, especially in the hills, I know being a 90-kilo rider, if I'm keeping up, then I'm having to put another 20, 25, 30 watts in than they are to do exactly the same effort. And it's always that psychological game when you look across and it's just a poker face.
Yeah.
And, you don't know how deep somebody's going. And I was saying before you joined the call, I was inspired this week because all the riders are type 1 diabetic. And so watching them monitor their glucose level and really absolutely knowing, you know, what their blood sugars were at, almost gave them a superpower. Whereas most athletes, it's a bit anecdotal. You start to bonk, you start to go downhill and you react and it's too late. So riding with athletes who have to, by definition, know themselves and really be on top of their nutrition was, well, it was inspiring, but it was also really interesting to learn from them.
Oh, no, absolutely. And you know, there's the Super Sapiens blood glucose monitors now, which you know you've seen in elite sport, which are available to recreational athletes now. So yeah, it is interesting, but it's also quite humbling when you go out and you think, well, I'm a pretty decent cyclist, and then you go out with like pros, and it's just a different world. And absolutely, I did one climb yesterday when I was going out, and it was about an 8-minute climb, and I went up it, and I'm at the moment 74 kilos at the moment. I did 360 watts at this 8-minute climb, and the Strava for it is 2 minutes faster. 2 minutes over 8 minutes. I'm like, how is that even possible? And you look at it, and it's quite mind blowing, really, because you know you always think, oh, I could do that, and then you actually look at it and go, nah, maybe I couldn't. So it is interesting as well. But I think you'll probably find as well, Mark, with these guys on the camps, I bet they were like eating so much and they were quite diligent with their diet all the time.
Yeah, it's amazing. You go into the food hall in the hotel, and next to the buffet on the canteen, there's electronic scales. So every dish is being weighed. You know, people know exactly what they're putting in their body. And obviously being type 1, they're really, really on top of it as well. But, you know, absolutely inspiring stuff. But as I was sort of saying before as well, it's not just the when you're a solo rider, you know, you get very used to being in your own head. But riding to somebody else's intensity, not just on the flats, but on the descents and the technical terrain, you know, you've just got to be so switched on, and having that sort of that being relaxed on the bike. Everyone focuses on their FTP and their power, but so much about, you know, bike riding at that level is just about confidence and you know, the ability to, you know, just handle the bike really, really smoothly. And it's just amazing watching, you know, how close they can ride at speed. And it's interesting. So, you know, I've grown up being a bike rider and a skier, and you sort of know your own sport. I had the opportunity before the Commonwealth Games back in 2014 to try out and film a lot of the athletes. And it gave me a whole new appreciation for people, you know, on totally different journeys. You know, I got to meet the Olympic javelin thrower, you know, the top Commonwealth table tennis players, you know, in India, some of the top wrestlers, Roman wrestlers, you know, you name it. And I got to try my hand at all these different sports. And you watch it on telly and you admire their strength and their speed and their athleticism, but it's not you until you go toe to toe with these athletes that you actually realise how damn good they are.
Yeah.
One that I remember the fondest was in Trinidad and Tobago, with this Olympic Kishorn, this Olympic javelin thrower. I'm 6'3" with long arms, and I thought, I've never really done this before, but I can chuck a stick. How hard can it be to throw a javelin? And I gave it welly, chucked it down the field, and it went 20 meters. He did exactly the same thing as far as I could see, and it went 60 meters.
Love it.
I scratched my head and I went, how come you can throw a stick 3 times further than me? What is it that you're doing that you know that I don't? And you watch it on telly, and it's impossible to understand the gap between mere mortals and top professionals in any sport. And it really is humbling.
I think during the Olympics there was always this talk that they should put a normal person in each event just so you could get a comparison of what it's like. Because you watch it and you go, yeah, I could do that. And it was a bit like, with cycling, which is obviously the passion that we all share. Like I was doing a session of VO2 max intervals of a horrible session, and that'll be common to a lot of athletes, is doing blocks of 6 minutes at 40 seconds as hard as you can and 20 seconds recovery. And I was doing those a couple of weeks ago on the turbo, and they're disgusting. And then Rohan messaged me from Australia, and he'd done the last 10 minutes of the national time trial at more power than I was able to do for 40 seconds. And you're thinking, I was up and I'm swinging, I'm absolutely swinging. They're like 40 seconds, I'm counting down the seconds, I'm doing it. And he's done the last 10 minutes. It's just insane. And we were with the Canyon SRAM girls last year. And again, as a man, you kind of, I'm a big, strong boy and everything else, I can do this. And we went out and we were down in the part of the world where you were training, Mark, down in the south of Spain. And there's these beautiful, for those of you, again, I haven't been there, there's these beautiful climbs, which are perfect for, athletes like myself and Mark that are, that aren't the smallest athletes. And there's lots of lovely climbs at kind of 5-6%, so you can get a good tempo. And we were doing some testing down there last year, and it was a minute, 5 minutes, and 15 minutes with 8 minutes recovery, and it was a bit of benchmarking for the season. So I was with the team, and I thought, well, I'll just do it with the riders because I was out with them. So I did a minute. I think I did 700 watts for a minute. I did 440 or 450 for 5 minutes, and then I did 360 watts for 15 minutes. So meat and potatoes kind of stuff. I had the lowest watts per kilo there on 1 minute, 5 minutes, and on 15 minutes I was the third lowest. And it's, again, just put it in context. You think, I'm all right on a bike, and you're doing like 700 watts for a minute, and you're the lowest. You are the lowest, and it's good. I think it's good, and I think it's also nice to learn about other sports as well. When you look at it, and it's really difficult to relate. I think swimming's the one that gets me. I can't swim at all, and I can swim, but you look at the technique involved in that, and that's almost the harder you try, the slower you go as a non-swimmer. So it's fascinating. But how did you end up out with the team, Mark? How did that come about? Why were you there?
The Commonwealth.
The pro cycling team.
So my bike sponsor is Argon 18.
Got you.
So Argon 18 was a big name in triathlon. They're now, a big name in road as well. And but they're one of those sort of niche top end brands. For 12 years of my career, I was with Koga, the Dutch company. Very similar. They're not one of the biggest names out there. I know, Alan, you work closely with Specialized.
Yeah.
Huge global brand. The Specialized, the Treks, the Cannondales of this world. So the likes of Argon 18 they're a lot smaller than that. They really are, just performance machines. They don't have that sort of market penetration that the Specialized of this world do. But they're phenomenal race machines, and they're perfect for what I do. I won GB Giro last year on their gravel bike. I've got their time trial bike and their new road bike for RAM this year. And the Novo Nordisk team are Argon 18 sponsored athletes as well.
Okay.
So they wanted to basically cross-pollinate and get Mr. Endurance and get their pro road team riding and training together, and it was really humbling. So the guy who owns Argon 18, his grandfather founded Novo Nordisk, which is the world's biggest insulin manufacturer. So their business is basically type 1 diabetes care. So there's a lovely synergy where the team that's all type 1 diabetic, promoting and inspiring diabetic athletes the world over, are riding Argon 18 bikes, which is owned by the grandson of the guy that founded the company. So
there's the house.
Nice synergy there.
Well, that's cool. No, it's. I bet you enjoyed it. And how did you find the climbing with them? I bet that was quite.
Alan, guys, can I jump in here? Can I jump in as we're pushing on? Alan, if I can say a massive thanks to you for joining us. We've got Stuart Hogg up next for some rugby chat and for the next part of the day. But Alan, that's been very helpful. The stories have been brilliant. Everything that you've told us will have helped the riders. And we're now sitting at 103 riders live, getting through the miles. So thank you so much for joining us.
Have a good day, guys. I'm away to top my suntan up, and I'm thinking of you. All right. Cheers, guys.
Have a great day, everybody.
See ya. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Well done to Alan. Mark, thank you for jumping in there. Now, as I do this, I should have Stuart Hogg on the call. Hoggy, you there?
I'm indeed, mate. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Where are you? Let me find you. It's one of these things. I've got 100 of people on this.
He's the one looking really relaxed, lying in his sofa.
Oh, there he is. Here he is. So we're putting you there. We get you on screen. Hoggy, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. We're here, World in a Day. You were here with us last year. We've got over 100 riders. There's stacks of folk watching live across YouTube, Twitter, everywhere. How's things? You do look relaxed.
I'm pretty relaxed, actually. I'm very well. I've just woken up around 7 o'clock this morning, into the sauna for 40 minutes, had some breakfast, and now back in my room. Obviously, we play this afternoon, so it's a pretty quiet time for us.
Yeah, you've got, is it London Irish today?
London Irish, yeah.
Interesting one. I mean, the league's all over the place. I see Bath beat Harlequins last night.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that with the boys in the team room. It was a half decent game of rugby, to be fair. Like Bath are, they've had their struggles this season, but we've played against them and they're still a very, very good side. So yeah, it was good to see them knock over Quins. Obviously helps us out a little bit if we were to back that up today with a win. So yeah, no, as you say, the league is a bit hate 'em, scare 'em. Everybody's seems to be finding their feet so far, and yeah, it's been enjoyable so far.
Yeah, and we've been watching across social media. It's great to see you boys back in Scotland camp. What is that like? What's the vibe like? There's a lot of laughs, a lot of smiles across social media. How was it being back in camp?
It was brilliant. It's always good to see the boys. I think for us, we were on, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I had to come back obviously to the club. But no, it was great to see everybody kind of start up on in a good way. Obviously, start getting excited about what's ahead for the next few weeks. Obviously, my focus right now is on London Irish this afternoon. But as soon as this game's done, it'll be on to England next week. And for us as a proud Scotsman, there's no better game to be involved in, is there?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Scotsmen on this call, so you're going to have to skip London Irish for the next 20 minutes because we've got Mr. Rob Wainwright here. We've got some kids that want to say hello. I'm sure my boys are going to come in for a wave in a minute, but it's all go for the game against England. But as captain, you're taking the leadership role. You're leading the country into the England game in the Six Nations. You've done it before. You've got the whole country behind you. Scotland fans from around the world. How do you attack it? How do you do the next Six Nations? Is anything different, or are you kind of looking back on sort of the old methods that you've used, or is anything changing this year?
I think we done the big Greg and I done the media launch on Wednesday, and we were kind of having a discussion about what we're gonna say. And the big thing for us is that we've chalked off some very, very good wins of late. England last year, France away from home. Wales in the autumn before that. Australia at home. Like big games, and we're on the right trajectory of where we want to be. But does that help us win games in the here and now? Absolutely not. So the big thing for us is the big thing that I keep saying to the boys every single day is that you bring the best version of yourself, no matter how big that is. Some days you could be 80, 90% of your best. Some days you could be 30, 40% of your best. That's all I want, is for everybody every single day to bring the best version of themselves on and off the field. And it's been really quite interesting because we've got a really, really tight-knit group now that we have had for the last 18 months to 2 years, that we've enjoyed each other's company on and off the field. And we've made some very, very good memories. And for me, the little conversations that we have every single day sitting around a team room, there's golf simulators for us, there's pool tables, the boys are gaming every now and then. The cohesion's massive off the field. And it's clear to see that it's helping on the field as well, because we are having these big results. So we're hugely excited about the next few weeks, and Rob will be able to back me up in terms of the kind of 5 Nations, 6 Nations. As soon as you start off this campaign in a good way, you really tend to kick on after that. So hopefully next week against England we can get a campaign off in the best possible way.
What are you saying, Rob? I see you unmuted yourself there. Here we go.
I've just been catching up a group in front, so I'm a wee bit tough. But as we discussed earlier, sorry, get my breath back. It's starting off on with a win is it's the only way to have a campaign, and you're fighting. From the second game onwards, you're fighting to rescue something if you don't win that first game. And it's so good that England at home is no longer a bogey game for us. It's going to be a stern challenge, and I don't need to tell Hoggy and the team that they respect England, but they don't have any fear of them in the way that when I was playing, we knew that England could strangle us, rolling mauls, kicking game, and there wasn't much we could do unless we produced our very best attacking game. And whereas now that's not the case, and starting the campaign off with a win is really the benchmark that the players they always set it, but this time they know that it's eminently achievable, and they know they can do it because they've done it before.
Absolutely. And Hoggy, I'm more interested in who are the gamers, who are the fun guys, who are the guys that keep the morale going in the team. I heard, was it Chris Harris was doing all sorts of court sessions at the tail end of the Autumn Internationals. There's all the nonsense that goes on, a bit more probably in Rob's days. But we won't hammer you just on the England game and what's happening. What's it like behind the scenes in the Scotland squad?
It's really quite chilled out and relaxed, because as soon as we get on the training field, we get in the gym, we're engaged in meetings. We go across to Oriam, we commit to the 4 or 5 hours that we're across there, and then the rest of the time we are chilled out, because we don't want to be rugby 24/7, because it's a really, really physically challenging time, the Six Nations, but it's really, really quite mentally challenging as well, because you're engrossed in this massive big tournament, all the time. So we want the boys to relax as much as we possibly can. So there will be boys go off in game, like Jamie Batty, Sean Maitland, Hamish Watson, all these kind of guys will be gaming. I tend to keep myself to myself and chill out in my room a fair bit, speak to my wife and kids, and then sit in the team room and just kind of chew the fat almost. But I think the big thing that we've really, I wouldn't say a big thing that we've changed. It's always been involved in rugby, is that we do like to enjoy ourselves off the field. We like to relax and unwind and enjoy each other's company with a few beers after a game, and it's something that you learn a lot about each other when you're a couple of beers deep. So Chris Harris led the court session last year, and it was absolutely tremendous. And no doubt, he actually started this week. He actually started making a few fines already for boys, a little bit here late here and there, or wrong kit or what have you. So yeah, Charis is right on the ball straight from the get go. So God help us come the end of the campaign.
Does he take it upon himself, or if he's in the squad, everyone just knows he's in charge? He's the fines master. He's the gaffer on that side.
We kind of try and mix things up about committees all the time, but he made such a good job of the court session at the end of November that I'm like, mate, that is your job for life now. Because he's got all the the international drinking rules. He's got the crack to go with it, and he just. He had everybody in stitches at the back end of November. So, yeah, I think he's got a tough challenge to back it up. Sean Maitland done it the year before when we were in Ireland at the end of the autumn, and he was quality as well. So maybe the two could work in tandem, and we could have, double the crack and, well, hopefully not double the fines. But those boys will keep us going.
Rob, back in the day, you led the country, you led Scotland. Who were your top 3 best drinkers? Who would you put in a boat race against the current team?
Well, the first question I had is are we on right-handed or left-handed drinking at the moment? No one's actually made that clear. I don't want to get caught out.
Always left. Always left.
Always left, Rob, even for your cups of tea.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to use first names or touch our face or any of these things?
Every time we have a court session, there's a new bloody rule about it, isn't there? So.
They were great fun. There was actually Edinburgh Ackies. Remember Top Trumps?
Yeah.
Edinburgh Ackies were obviously doing a lot of fundraising for the new ground, the new pitch and stadium they've got, they've done an amazing job. But one of their early fundraising things was Top Skaters, I think they called it. Top Trumps for the best drinkers, or who you'd want to go out for a night with. And I'm proud to say I was 9 out of 10, but I couldn't get a 10 out of 10. Whereas I think Doddy and JJ, John Jeffries, were both 10 out of 10s, which will be interesting for Hoggy now, because JJ's now a pillar of the SRU and has to be a lot better behaved. But we all know how history relates how badly behaved he can be. And it's great that we're here celebrating Doddy. Doddy's still, whenever I go to his house, I'm always driving away, which is a very useful thing. So, but he always tries to get drinks in your hand as soon as you're in there. And in terms of team building, I used to have long arguments with Jim Telfo when he was team manager about the value of alcohol in building a squad and common history off the pitch. The greatest bonding experience you can have in a rugby team is to play in a match with somebody. But if you back that up with some common history off the pitch, which is so important, it doesn't have to involve alcohol, but often it does for releasing inhibitions. And it is a very important part of it. And it's uplifting to know that the current boys, who have to be so sensible much of the time, know how to let their hair down when the opportunity is presented.
That's it,
Gregor doesn't have a lot of hair to let down, but he allows it. I know, Hoggy.
Rob, I'm going to dive in here because I'm getting messages coming through that a man that knows a little bit about a night with a couple of beers, Ali McCoist, apparently is on the call. Ali Coisty, are you there? He's maybe not.
He does struggle with tech, so he
does struggle with tech.
Struggling to unmute himself.
He was in and out. So if anyone sees him, do let me know. But Hoggy, just on Doddy Aid and everything that we're here for. Obviously, as I say, we're over 100. I will try and share. We've got London Scottish. There's a whole group of cyclists getting together. There's rugby clubs. We've got from Boroughmuir, Watsonians. They're all over the place. I can see them all on screen. There's so many people coming into this cycle today, out of world in a day. There's so much going on. Doddy Aid, and what you've been so involved with it and helping and supporting. What does it mean to you and just for what everything's doing for Doddy and the wider MND community?
I think it's absolutely tremendous. Rob and I had a conversation a while ago about, if I could get involved in any way possible. And I was on with Bruce Aitchison last week talking about all things Doddy Aid. Somebody's going for it.
That'll be Ali McCoy somewhere. Is that Ali McCoy joining us?
That's a hell of a tune, that. Good tune.
Keep on mute, guys. Keep on mute.
But no, I think it's absolutely tremendous. Obviously, it just speaks volumes of the character of Doddy, that how many people have well, for today, for instance, that are involved, but all the kind of fundraising and events and everything that he's done over the past few years has been absolutely incredible. The amount of money raised is phenomenal, and all just to hopefully find a cure for MND. And as I say, it speaks volumes the amount of people that are involved because of Doddy's character, an absolute legend of the game, and an even better human being. So, to see everybody involved as I say, is absolutely tremendous. And long may that continue. Obviously, I would love to be taking part today, but I think I'll try and log my miles for the team Sooth and what I'm doing. But yeah, no, I think it's an absolute incredible initiative that everybody's doing, and keep up the good work. I'm nice and relaxed and chilled out here, and I've seen Rob and the rest. I've flicked through the screen to see how knackered everybody else is, but keep going, guys. It's an incredible effort so far.
Hoggy, just to keep you on a couple, we've got a young lad I think wants to say hello, Caleb McLeod, 14 years old. He's going to cycle 240 miles today.
Jeez,
he's putting it. Caleb, are you there? You unmuted yourself?
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
What mileage are you at?
I'm not sure. It's about 60, I think.
You're at 60, so we're a long way to go.
Yeah.
Any questions for Hoggy?
Yes. Yeah. Well, firstly, my papa, TP Crothers, was president of Gala Rugby Club in the centenary year. And then, well, my question is, what is your favourite rugby match that you've played in?
First of all, it's Dirty Gala, not Gala, Dirty Gala. And my favourite rugby match, oh geez, to try and put my finger on one.
Oh my God, have you still got your quota?
Oh
my God.
Caleb, tell your dad to quieten down.
Favourite rugby game, I think, if I were to look back on one.
Oh yeah, it's for Doddy at the Motor Near Underage charity. I'm currently on a Zoom call with Stuart Hogg, the Scottish rugby captain.
If you could, that's great. We're delighted you're here, but if you could go on mute, that would be brilliant.
Thanks, Nathan. Hope you're well, bud. Yeah, so favourite rugby game, I think.
Not till 8 o'clock tonight, because I'm cycling till 8 o'clock tonight.
Right, where is he? Hold on. Nathan, you need to get on mute.
And it's for charity, so I can't fuck it off.
Oh, brilliant. I can't find him. Where is he? Oh, God. Can everyone please go on mute while we're in the conversations? Okay, keep going as best you can.
Nathan Forrester, absolute legend. Yeah, favourite game. Oh, he's still going. Still going.
Guys, I can't find them. There's hundreds.
There's Coisty though.
Have we got Ali the Coisty?
Hey!
Hoggy, how you getting on, Hoggy?
I'm good, pal. How are you?
Excellent, mate. We're in good form. Believe it or not, I'm not winding you up. I've done 40 minutes my bike this morning. I'm heading out to the football and I'm coming back in. I'll do another half hour to 40 minutes this afternoon, guys.
Coisty, you could have just
on the couch with all your clothes on and all the lights on.
Honestly, I knew you wouldn't believe me. I promise you. I have done 45 minutes and I'm coming back as
So we're just chilling out before the game now. This is kind of the boring part, just waiting to kick off. But I'm pretty chilled out, enjoying it. What's fresh for you?
Good stuff. Everything's great, mate. Everything's great. It's wild up here. I'll tell you a laugh. The phone went at 7 o'clock this morning. All the boys' rugby games are cancelled, believe it or not, because of the weather. However, us hardened footballers, the games are still on for the footballing boys, Hoggy. You know what I mean?
They must be on the telly to pay your wages. Is that what it is?
That's exactly what it is, mate.
That's why they're on.
Listen, I'm shooting off, and I'll see you later on. But the very best of luck to you this afternoon, mate. And just as importantly, if not more importantly, good luck in the Six Nations, pal. I'm coming through for a couple of the games, so I look forward to seeing you.
Ideal. Thanks, bud. You look after yourself. We'll see you soon.
Coisty,
let us know later on, guys.
Let us know when you're coming back on. Drop us a text.
Will do, mate. Have fun.
See you later.
See you guys.
Okay, right. Let's get Caleb's question in. Nathan Forrester thinks now on mute.
There we go. Yeah, so favourite rugby game. Favourite rugby game. I think if I was to look at the two, my memory doesn't serve me well, but if I was to look at the two that have meant the most to me recently, I'd say the England game last year was massive. Because we'd only
Oh, I don't know. Can I see that?
that's the one. There we go.
Here we go.
There we go.
Yay!
I think that's one of my favourite games because for 38 years we hadn't won down at Twickenham. And as a proud Scotsman, it's something that was a bit niggly every time you went down there. That all you heard was 1982, 1983. But the manner in which we won that game, we kicked incredibly well. Finn, Ali, we played in the right areas. Defensively, we were absolutely incredible. And nobody down there and win, which was massive for us because we believed we could. And we managed to do it. So that was quality. I think the next game would be France for the exact same reason, other than we came from behind with, I was in the bin for 10 minutes over half time, and then we lost Finn. What about? I can't remember how long it was to go. Maybe 10 minutes to go. So yeah, we played a fair bit of the game with 14 men, but to win across in Paris was quality, especially after the kind of COVID stuff that had called off the game that was meant to be played earlier, and all that was kind of talked about in the build up to that game was that France were going to win the Six Nations if they beat us by X amount of points, and I was like, yeah, I ain't having that. And the boys managed to back it up and get a good win. So, and you talk about the old school values of rugby, we definitely enjoyed both nights after those games. So hopefully that answers your question. And again, it is Dirty Gala.
Dirty Gala.
Here's a picture of you and Caleb when he was 10.
Where was that? Was that that was at Netherdale, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
Yeah. I think that's my hairdresser was drunk that day when she cut that. I think.
About the hairdressers today.
We've got one of the hairdressers on. Simon Hill's on. I think he's cut a lot of the boys' hair in the squad. We were speaking to him earlier. Hoggy, as the day progresses, I've got Greg Laidlaw on at 11:20, then Rory Lawson, then Jamie Ritchie and Hamish Watson later in the day. Any stories, anything you want, messages you want passed on to the boys?
Maybe remind Mr. Greg that he can answer his phone every now and then if he wants. I think he's too busy counting his yen to answer to his little Hoikatiri pal. But that's a quality lineup you've got. Obviously, Gunn will come on and give you some good stories. Jamie will be as intense as ever. Mish will probably be smoking a fag, but yeah, no, it's a great lineup you've got there, and as I say, it'll keep everybody entertained. Hopefully, I've not bored you too much. But yeah, as I say, keep going, guys. You're doing a tremendous job.
No, Hoggy, it's been brilliant. Thank you for joining in. Rob, any parting?
Just a big thank you, Hoggy. Good luck today, and obviously we're watching you in a couple of weeks' time, and we'll all be cheering you on. Not all there are a few English cyclists in the peloton today that may be cheering the other side, but anyway, good luck and thank you so much for all you've done for Doggy Age. You've been a star. Thanks.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me, Rob. Stick in.
Hoggy, I'm going to get put in the doghouse if my boys don't give you a wave. Here comes the hurricane of Hunter and Rocky. Go on, give them a wave. No, you've got to come in front of the computer. They put their tops on for you.
Hi, boys. You all right?
They won't be able to. Say hello.
Hi.
How are you, buddy? All right?
Yeah.
What have you been up to this morning?
Been playing the games.
Football was cancelled, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna play football, but it got cancelled.
Oh no! So you're just running right in the garden, are you?
Yeah.
Good on you. Good on you.
Say good luck for the Six Nations.
Good luck for the Six Nations.
Thank you, buddy. You look after yourselves. See you soon.
Bye.
Well done, boys. you want to say hello? Well done.
Hi.
How are you, man? You all right?
Yeah.
Are you behaving?
Yeah.
You look like a little troublemaker, are you?
What did you have for breakfast?
Porridge.
You had
You
porridge.
had porridge. You're gonna be a big, strong man, are you?
Mhm.
Good on you.
Well done, Rocky. Well done. Hoggy, top man. I'm
No
going to get
problem,
father
man.
of the year. Now they're digging into all my supplies, my muffins, my oranges. Hoggy, good on you, mate. Good luck today against London Irish for everything that's about to come with the Six Nations. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us as
Thank
always.
you, man. Thanks, Nashi. Look after yourself, bud.
Okay. Oh,
Cheers,
wait,
guys.
hold on. 2 seconds. I think someone's just joined who said he wanted to speak to you. 2 seconds. Is it the Kenny? I think it is. Kenny Logan, are you there?
I'm doing something.
Kenny, Hoggy's on. He's about to go.
Hoggy,
Put your camera on.
Right, where's the camera? My internet's really dodgy, as you know.
If it's not Ali Mc... There he is. Oh, no, he's gone. There he is.
Come on.
Kenny Logan.
On the bike. All right, son.
What you said?
You're on the sofa.
I'm on a little couch, mate. Just about to play this afternoon, isn't it?
Good lad. How's it all going?
Aye, good. Just battling on, flying left, right in Chelsea, but we're ready to rock and roll again.
Good man. Thanks for your support, as always.
No problem. What's fresh for you?
I'm going to try and stay in Lycra all day. It's the first time ever I've done that.
Aye, right.
But I'll tell you what, my advice to every young kid is never stop training. Because when you try and get back on it, Jesus Christ, only doing for 20 minutes.
Oh, brilliant. Scramble behind the scenes this morning is like Kenny Logan's no got the link. Kenny Logan's no got the link, but you made it. Oh, well done. Hoggy, I'll let you go. Hoggy, I'll let you go.
Good luck today, mate.
Cheers, bud. Look after yourself. We'll see you soon.
See you later. All the best.
Cheers, guys. Stick in.
Cheers, mate.
Kenny, you've made it.
I know. I've had, as you know, I've had technical issues the last 3 days. But for some reason, I managed to get somebody's Wi-Fi next door, I think.
You're siphoning off the Wi-Fi.
I'm waiting for the police to come round.
Oh, good on you, Kenny. No, but you've done a lot. Obviously, you do so much behind the scenes. You see a lot of what goes on in your management company and everything. Tell us the story. Obviously, you were on the podcast this week, and it's quite a touching story of when Doddy first told you the news of MND and his diagnosis, because that was quite a story that you told me.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody knows Doddy, he never comes across sometimes the most serious bloke in the world. But when he told me, I sort of couldn't process it because I was coming back from Bristol. I was in a car. I'll never forget it. It was in February. I think it was around the 24th. And he just told me, and I sort of, as I say, I couldn't process it in my head. And he hung up because I was getting, you take the mickey sort of thing. And then when he phoned me back, it sort of really hit me more because I sort of managed to process it. But his bravery has been phenomenal, I said all along. And also, got up a bit of a hill at the moment. Jesus Christ, I said no. And
dig in, Kenny, dig in.
I think that the other thing for Doddy is they love round the world for him, and they love to try and find a cure for MND or find something that can make a big impact in it. It's been amazing. And this World in a Day, Doddy Aid, and that's only 1 month of the year. There's another 11 that we constantly fundraise for the foundation. And this year's going to be a big year because we really have to move the dial. So we're going to be up for a big fundraise, try and match that 50 million that the government have put in towards us. So, because it's underfunded, we all know that. So the more we can put in, the better. And I think what Doddy's done, especially Doddy, it's made us get off our arses and do something about it. I've certainly lost some pounds. So thanks to Rob Wainwright and everybody involved, because they said people behind the scenes, that's you guys doing so much for us. Really well appreciated.
Oh, well said, Kenny. Now, Kenny, while you're on, we've got a team. We've got Evolution Fitness Studio, and I think in there, I don't know if they're able to have a chat. I'll try and pin them. They're a group from London.
Yeah, I know them well.
There they are. I think there's London Scottish.
Scottish,
excuse me.
yeah.
Here we go. Somebody's coming up. We'll maybe get a bit of chat if they can come up.
Here we
Hello!
are.
Oh, the music
Good
is
evening,
going.
Good morning. Doesn't matter. From Evolution Fitness Studio. Welcome to Johnny A.
Yay! Well done, guys.
So here we are. We're doing 4 classes over 6 hours. 8:45, 10 o'clock, 11:15, and 1 o'clock. We've got 7 cyclists that are doing all 6 hours here. We've got 30 people in all that we race from all of the classes goes to Johnny A. So we salute you from here at Evolution to you guys cycling all day. We support you, we support Johnny, and we are all in this together.
Well done, thank you, guys.
Absolutely epic.
What an effort! What
Nick
an effort!
Evans is a really good lad, and he's worked really hard. He's set up his own business and he's supporting the foundation, so it's really, again, great to have them on board.
It's brilliant. They've been very vocal. They've been involved in emailing us before, telling us they were coming on. It's just like everybody, the whole community. As we sit currently just under 100 riders, and I'm sure more and more will just keep joining throughout the day.
Last night I was at a couple of Sherbrooks, and a lady came up to me and said to me, "Don't drink too much, I'm on Doddy tomorrow." And then another lady came up to me, told her snood out. You know, and this is the effect. It's not in Scotland, it's all over the place. And I love the fact that people are just really buying into it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a theme here because Rob Wainwright was on a couple of Sherbets last night as well. Was that the old school rugby players? A couple of pints before the big day?
I never used to drink before a big day. Rob Wainwright did, though. I think it settled. And there used to be a whiskey club.
Settle the nerves.
There used to be a Scottish whiskey club. Here it is. The Scottish whiskey club, remember? Thursday nights?
Yeah, round 19. It wasn't actually Thursday night. I think it was Friday night.
Yeah, okay. I was trying to give you 24 hours.
we had one dram just to settle the nerves, and we try and make it a different dram every week. And yeah, we've never looked back. I have a cast.
It was you, Doddy, and Gary, wasn't it?
And whoever else came along. Smithy was there. Pete Walton, but he didn't like the whiskey so much, so it wasn't much use having him there.
No, I think I did one night and I realised that it wasn't for me. I think I got dropped the following week.
We're losing you a wee bit, Kenny. We lost you a wee bit.
How are you doing, Big Fella? You all right? Still there.
You're doing?
Oh, how am I doing? I've done 80 miles now. I've managed to get in some really fast pelotons and just push early on. So I'm a third of the way there after 3.5 hours, which is a nice place to be. But my ass is sore. My wife's brought me 2 lots of toast through, so my nutrition's okay. But I've gone through 4 bottles already. There's a lot of sweating.
Rob, did you take much encouragement or advice from Alan Murkiston? That was a really interesting conversation on the way he views fuel, how it can benefit your fitness and the different kind. Interesting on the sort of vegan and everything, the different diets. A really interesting chat.
Well, the first time I heard of Mark Beaumont, I was involved with children your age and a new project out here on Cop. Wasn't really doing any exercising, but my mother was a manic, late onset marathon runner and cyclist. And she said, there's this boy from locally who's cycling around the world and you should follow him. And he's called Mark Beaumont. And she kept saying, I'm really worried about him because he's trying to do it and he's a vegetarian. And she didn't think that he'd be able to manage to go around the world on a vegetarian diet. Probably just as much from accessing the right food in all these different countries as the energy side of things. But I believe Mark did have to get stuck into the meat during that first round the world trip in the end. But I thought Alan was absolutely fascinating, and that's the joy of this event, is just sitting on the bike, spinning the wheels, and getting a flow of interesting information coming in through the ear to distract.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'd never met him again. It's the beauty of this event and Mark and the reach that he has, that he can bring in interesting people like Alan that can just really help the riders. But let alone, it's just, it was real talk. The fact that you can hear as a dad, as a sort of want to be as fit as I can. It's not often easy to go to the shops and know that you're buying the right stuff, you know. And you can see you've got to have that much protein, you've got to have that much carbs. You do your best, and then you come home and you try to cook your own healthy meal, and then you've got 3 kids and Abby, the wife, and all that sort of stuff. It's a challenge to get the balance when we're all just people trying to get through and we're not high performance athletes.
When we're doing the big ride, my daughter's in charge of nutrition for the Cardiff ride, and she sent a wee text to the WhatsApp group saying, you know, anyone got any nutritional oddities? And everyone said, no, fine, we can eat everything. And OJ Borge, who's the Radio 2 DJ, who's on the ride with us from the coming with the World is Swift, he said, yeah, I can eat absolutely anything. But I am vegetarian. And I was thinking, well, that's not absolutely everything then, is it? That does limit things a wee bit. But it'll be interesting to see how he copes with it. But I thought Alan's advice was extremely, I mean, it just came across as really sensible.
Yeah.
Even the explanation of the chicken nuggets for Bolt. Yeah.
No. Absolutely. Now I'm going to shoot around a little bit. Some familiar faces. Let's check in with Richard Ellis. Richard, how are you doing?
Not well, obviously.
Yeah, no. I've got to unmute myself. It's not that. Are you doing that, Shelley?
Yeah, I'm fine. This is what we'll establish throughout the day, that I am absolutely fine. It's you guys that they're putting the real shift in. Good on you, Richard. Obviously, behind the scenes, the amount of work that you do and the amount of effort you put in for this charity. When did you first get involved?
Probably, I think not long after Dory's diagnosis. Before when that came public, and I was at the Scotland All Blacks game.
Yeah.
So when Dory and the boys brought the ball out, it was just what an atmosphere, what an amazing thing. And I've just kept it going ever since. Just following it, it's just such inspirational. And kind of tagged along a little bit with the Dory 500.
Yeah.
Photography side of things as well.
Yeah.
On that first bit. But yeah, it's just, you can't help but get involved, can you?
No, you're right. And it's like Kenny was saying earlier, and everyone says it's that Dory has brought us all together in the community. Yeah. They're willing to reach out, and you guys are willing to put the miles in. People are willing to spend their time, volunteer behind the scenes. It's incredible.
Yeah, and then you've got inspirational people like Davey and Team Choke as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're out there, and we found them, and we're doing what we can for them. So good on you, Richard. I'll let you go. Keep doing your thing. Keep going. I see Mark.
It's worth saying that Richard's one of these characters that seems to spend his life promoting what other people do, and I'm amazed he's got the time to be aware of not just what's happening across Doddy Aid and the foundation, but so many athletes. You know, Marcus Stitz, myself. I look at his feed, and he's just championing so many people, athletes, causes. You know, I love that enthusiasm. It's incredibly infectious. We've bumped into each other a few times up on the Penlands or at events, and he's got a heart of gold. I don't know how he has the time to watch everyone's feeds and give everyone such moral support, but it's worth saying that it means a lot when people feedback, comment, promote other people's causes, charity, athletic endeavours. And Richard's a great example of somebody who just takes the time to support so many people, which is amazing. And I'm sure he does it because he's interested, but it's worth knowing that it's a wonderful feedback loop that gives real fuel to the fire when it comes to the charities and the athletes.
I'm especially pleased that we now know what he looks like, because forever I just saw a snood and a set of eyes.
Actually, can I just mention later on this year, I'm going to be attempting the jog.
Oh, wow.
Foundation in August. And Johnny Boats, not as fast as Mark, but I'm going to try and do it over 10 days.
Good on you. Good on you. Well, I mean,
any support near the time would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, well, hey, the work you do for Doddy Aid, and I'm sure everybody sees it, so I don't think there'll be a problem in getting a catch up. Come on my podcast, whatever we can do, we can get the chat, we can get the promotion, and yeah, just build, because it's a community.
Yep, appreciate it.
Good on you. Well, here, I'll let you go just now. Keep going. And I'm still, guys, constantly adding people to this cycle, still circling around the sort of 100 riders. To anyone watching live, a little catch up for you. In about 20 minutes, we've got Dame Catherine Granger. 11 o'clock, we've got Jill Douglas coming on for a bit of a Doddy Foundation update. Then Greg Laidlaw will be tuning in from Japan. He'll be joined hopefully by Rory Lawson. On then to Ailey Barber, Edinburgh captain. She is at the Ross County Rangers game today, so she is hopefully going to tune in for a bit of a chat. And then 1 p.m, Sir Steve Redgrave will be joining us. In between Sir Steve Redgrave, there will be a chat with Mark Beaumont and Steve Bate, and then it's on to Sir Chris Hoy at 3 p.m. 4:30 this afternoon, you can set your diaries, Jamie Ritchie and Hamish Watson if you're looking for some more rugby chat. 5 p.m, we've got Dougie Vipond coming on. 6 o'clock, we've got John Davidson, the Mad Giraffe. You've maybe seen him across social media. He rode the Atlantic. 7 o'clock, JJ Chalmers. He was on last year. Lots to discuss after the year we've just had. And 7:30 p.m, we've got Molly Hughes. Molly is an Everest summiteer. She's summited it twice. She's walked across the South Pole. So there is lots going on. Ali McCoy's joined us a little bit earlier. He's going to come back on later in the day. Jim Hamilton's going to try and join us. We're still trying to track down Jason Fox, who is obviously going around the country at the moment in his live tour. There is stacks going on, tons to still cover, and I'm going to shoot around just now and see who else we can check in with. I can see, is this a couple of people? Is it Russell Gar? Russell, hi, you going to wave? You going to have a chat? Where are you guys based? Where's your gym?
Hi, how's it going?
Hello, where are you? Where are you based?
Up in the Shetland Islands.
The Shetland Islands. Good on you. And so is this your gym you're in?
Yes, this, yeah.
And what sort of mileage are you going for today?
Well, I'm going to try and do 240 kilometres.
Wow. Good on you.
I'm going to see how long I can last for. Let's be honest.
What you know how this works. Just stick around. If you get the full distance, fantastic. But join in and out. Get off the bike. Get on the bike. Go for a walk. We're here all day. The guest list is fully loaded. And have you been doing Doddy Aid throughout the month? What's been going on?
Yeah, there's a big contingent up the Shetland Islands doing Doddy Aid, so everybody's getting involved.
Good on you. And then what about Shetland? I've been up. Have I been there? No, it's Orkney. I've been up. Played rugby in Orkney. Shetland.
That's the enemy.
I know. I shouldn't mention that. What about rugby and sport up there? What, apart from the gym, what else is going on?
Yeah, there's quite a lively rugby scene up in Shetland, and also quite a lot of cyclists and runners.
Yeah. So it's busy. It's busy. In your gym, what kind of gym is it? Are we CrossFit? Are we general fitness? What kind of gym?
We've got our own gym here, so we're a couple of PTs working in Shetland, and we do one-to-one PT and small group.
Good on you. Well, here, good luck today. We'll be checking in throughout the day. Thanks for coming on for a chat. Keep going.
Thank you very much.
Who else have we got? And guys, do message me. Apologies when we're in sort of the interview and the podcast kind of conversations, I sometimes miss questions. So do send me and I'll try and get through. What's that there? 8-year-old Jonathan has just completed a 100-kilometer goal before heading off to his party. He's desperate to say hi and bye. Well, 8-year-old, 100 kilometres, incredible. Who have we got there? Sergeant James Gregg. I can see we've got a baby on screen or a young girl on screen. How are you, sir?
Morning, how are we doing?
Good, thank you. Where are you based?
I'm in Little Scotland, so I'm in Corby.
Corby. And who's that you've got with you?
So this is my daughter Bellatrix.
Okay. And what sort of mileage are you going after today?
I'm doing the full 240, so I'm 140k deep at the moment.
Good on you. Good on you.
So I was on first thing this morning, putting in for the term for today. So little one's just got up, so she's had a good sleep.
Well done. And obviously, Sergeant James Gregg in the military. Are you still in the military?
Yeah, serving. So obviously a sergeant in the REME, so I'm a tank mechanic by trade. But if you'd seen me this morning, I'm also part of the Army cycling team. So I ride for the Army in colours when not fixing tanks.
So you're a busy guy, and I see a GCN t-shirt on there. So you're into your cycling.
Yes. So it was GCN that got me into. So when we went into the first lockdown, we got mobilised to help with the NHS. The only thing I could do was cycle. So I started cycling on a watt bike. Wanted some information, did the usual thing, jumped on YouTube, found GCN, found a video of Mark cycling around the world and doing various stupid endurance challenges. Being a soldier, went, nah, how hard can that be? So after 3 months of training, did a 520-kilometre endurance ride in 30 hours, which is around my battalion, which I'm part of. So it's all the locations in the UK of my battalion. So virtually cycled that. Did a bit more. Then did Doddy Aid last year. Doing Doddy Aid this year. And then we're doing a team Land's End on a Groats in March. So we're doing a relay similar to what Mark and Hank did. So we're going for a team relay. Land's End on a Groats, but we're doing it the hard way. So we're starting in Scotland and going to England just to make it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, well, good on you. Well, at 5 o'clock, we've got a busy old time at 5 o'clock because Hank's actually joining us. So,
brilliant.
So later on today, Mark and Hank will have a chat. You can get in if you're still around then. 5 o'clock, Dougie Vipon will be on then. There's going to be a lot of, towards the end of the day, I've really tried to sort of stack the guests, the list, the conversations to keep people's sort of mindset off how sore their bodies are and the legs are and the lungs. So 5 o'clock today, there'll be a busy conversation going on, but we'll maybe get some chat then if we remember, because we've got a long way to go.
Yeah, brilliant. Cheers.
Good on you. Mark, you got anything? Yeah.
I was going to jump in there. I was the very first time I did end to end, I did it from top to bottom, and you're not right. There's a reason that everyone goes Land's End to John O'Groats. You do tend to have a bit more of a headwind heading that way, but it's I think Land's End is probably a better finishing point. John O'Groats is one of the bleakest places in the United Kingdom, and I finished a couple of efforts there last year, GB Giro, and of course the relay that you're chatting about, and that final stretch up the Berrydale Braes and up to John O'Groats, is a massive test, whereas finishing through the southwest, the A30 going through Devon and Cornwall is probably it's a totally different finishing straight. I'd be interested to know how many's in your relay team?
So there's 8 of us. So we're doing it as a sections. There's 8 of us doing it. So we're doing 2 hours on, 6 hours off.
2 hours on each?
Yeah.
And you're riding in pairs?
Yes, we're riding in pairs. 2 hours on, 6 hours off, rotating.
And have you got a target time?
So we're looking around about, we're aiming for about 60 hours.
They all look very good live still.
I mean, there's so much on that route that depends on the weather conditions. If you end up having the wind with you, you might absolutely smash that out of the park. We were aiming for 48 hours. Just anything under 2 days was good. And then we ended up, just with phenomenal conditions and going sub 40. But going hour on, hour off, sort of time trial efforts. I was going to say as well, my uncle was in Remy. He was a captain in Remy, William MacLeod. And so my childhood was spent visiting him on camp in Germany and many other places, helping dismantle Land Rovers and put them back together again. So very fond memories of, early stories of army life with my uncle.
Well, there's no better man to help you and give you some chat, James, than Mark Beaumont when you're going to be taking on that challenge. And like I said, 5 o'clock today, Hank will be on as well. So we can maybe hook up back then for some more chat on what you're going to be taking on.
Yeah, that'd be grand. I'll be here all day.
Good man, good man. I'm just sending out some last minute messages because we do have quite a few people that are hopefully going to jump on throughout the day. And just as a reminder, guys, the way that this works across StreamYard and the social platforms is we have to do it in 4-hour blocks. So the first live feed will actually be finishing at 9:55, and then it will be coming back on. Let's see here. I'll be finishing at 9:55, and it'll be coming back online at 10 a.m. So don't think that it's cut or you've lost the feed. It just has to reset. Keith, behind the scenes at Whoosh, he will sort everything. We'll be back on at 10. So every 4-hour stint, we have to change the live feed. So do bear in mind that we will be coming straight back on. 10 a.m., we've got Dame Catherine Granger. She will be on very soon. We've got so much going on across the day. If I can remind you, obviously, we're here for Doddy Aid. I know you all know that, but if you're watching, if you can donate, if you can jump on doddyaid.com, if you can really get engaged across social media, this is an event for everybody. My kids are in the room. Your kids are in the room. There are kids that are 14-year-olds. There are 8-year-olds covering hundreds of kilometers. This is a huge community event. There is so much going on. So if we can all turn that into a donation, it would be greatly appreciated. A massive well done to everybody that's been involved in Doddy Aid so far. You've all been logging your miles and donating. There's tons going on still throughout the month as the guys push towards the end of Doddy Aid when Scotland face Wales in Cardiff. Guys, you remember Mel? Here's Mel. You remember Mel? Mel, everyone says hi. Mel's going to be on soon. We'll be chatting to Mel in a wee while. You see everyone there? Evolution Fitness Studio. That's down at London Scottish. Look at all the people there.
There was a little note there from Keith behind the scenes saying that if we are coming to you live and you're in a gym studio, you're in a space where you've got music blaring, just switch the music off if we're coming to you for live. So we can hear you chat, and also because we're streaming this event live across YouTube, it's all about licensing for music. We're not allowed to be playing music. So just make sure we can keep the feed going all day. Just turn the music down if we're coming to you for a chat, especially if you're in your studio. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Mark and Keith. I think we're all up to date. Who else have we got here? Familiar faces. Do let me know, guys. As I said before, if you're coming from around the world, let me know. We can have a quick chat. I'd love to hear where people are based. There's a few things here. Someone needs to swap the bike for babysitting. Fab morning. 60 miles done. They'll be back later. Great to see everyone. Mr. Wainwright. Someone's away to collect the barbecue cover from the neighbour. I think we're all dealing with a bit of a storm at the moment, so hope everyone's doing okay inside. Where's Davey Jiv? Can we check in with Davey? Are you there, Davey? There he is.
Hello, Nasty.
How are you, mate? How are we doing?
Tip top. Had a coffee, bacon roll, a flat tire, just at 100k. So I'm back on.